All right. Good morning, everyone. Morning. How are you? Doing good? So we're going to have some fun for the next couple hours. I am Roger Brooks. This is my wife, Jane, over there. She's keeping an eye on you to see when you go, he said that, and so we're going to have some fun. Just to get things started, there you go. There's our county photo, huh? We have been here. We came up last Sunday. And by the way, we came from Phoenix. So originally from the Seattle area. We now live down there in where we call the Valley of the Sun for 8 months of the year. And the other 4 months we call it the surface of the sun. And so we've been here all week. And we have been secret shopping you. And so there was no interviews, Pam, nobody at the county, nobody at the cities, nobody gave us any heads up. Nobody told us where to stay, where to eat, anything. We planned this just like any other visitor would. And so we wore 3 hats. And this is not just about tourism. The number one hat we wore, is this a place that we would live? To either raise a family, retire, is this a place we'd move to? That's one hat. The second hat is, would we invest here? Would we start a business here? Would we expand a business here? And then we came as a leisure visitor. This is a place we would come and spend a day or 2 days or whatever. And so those are the hats that we have been wearing this week. And just so you know, we have assessed more than 1,500 communities in 45 U.S. states, all the Canadian provinces, Western Europe, Scandinavia, and it is probably our number one program. In Utah, just to give you some background, we were here working when Park City was hosting the Olympics. Then I keynoted at your state tourism conferences a couple of years. We've been working with Vicki Varela, your state tourism director, who funded 50% of this cost. Okay? So Utah Office of Tourism gets credit for that. And in 2015, we went and worked with these 4 counties, and then we also were working up in Brigham City. And under this grant program, we have pretty much secret shopped most of the state. So we know who your competition is. I mean, you name it, from all of King County and Logan and Cache Valley. And by the way, here we are in the University cabinets. Where do I buy my Aggie ice cream? Here in Blanding. Well, this is university. This is the cafeteria. Do they sell Aggie ice cream in the cafeteria?
Have a Blanding campus flavor.
Oh, okay.
Blue Mountain Berry.
Good. See, so those are things you should market. It's open to the public, right? Okay. See, those are the kind of things. So we did that last year. Then this year, of course, we are doing you. And then next week, we're in Paiute. And then, those are things that are coming up right now. Now, so we're getting a really good feel for Utah. When it comes to the assessment, we looked at marketing. As a matter of fact, we had 2 people secret shop you, and they are not professional. They are people that are visitors. One of them likes to actually get on the phone. The other one just does everything on the internet. And they wrote their experiences up. And I'm not going to go through all their experiences, but then both Jane and I also looked at your marketing materials, because we're here to secret shop you. We got to figure out what it is you're marketing, where you're sending us, and does it make sense? So we look, is it easy to find information? One thing that we found, it was easy to find San Juan County, but looking for Utah's Canyon Country was difficult in finding them in search engines. Were your marketing efforts, would they close the sale? How do you stack up to your competition? And I'm telling you, first of all, the Mighty 5 campaign has been the best, most successful campaign in U.S. history. When you see increases of tourism, it may not just be because of your local marketing efforts, although I hope it is, but in Kane County and those other areas in southern Utah, their average annual increases in tourism spending have been about 20%. And I don't know what it has been in San Juan County, but that's your bar. Okay? Was it convenient to get information? Then what we've been doing all day Monday, all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, And then yesterday we put all of this together. We also looked at that. As a matter of fact, we went through a list of 65 things, and I'm going to go through all 65 of them. Kidding. So we're going to hit the highlights. For me to start, I want to address the elephant in the room. Everywhere we go, we hear, oh, we're the poorest county in the state. It doesn't matter. I go to a national park office, and they go, well, San Juan County is the poorest county in the state. We go in a restaurant, we're the poorest county in the state. And it's like, what are you guys doing? Isn't there anybody with a positive attitude? So I got to tell you, that was number one. We hate bear's ears. And these visitors, they don't know the backstory. They don't know all of that, but they're here because of your national monuments. And then you say we hate it. And then I've read things online, stuff where you have even elected officials that hate tourism. And I read the whole, and by the way, Charlie Delorme is the one who hired us. Okay? And so we've seen all of this stuff. But you have to understand that if somebody is going to come and invest in this county, they're going to do the same kind of things we did. They're going to start Googling, and what we saw was negative, infighting, negative. And I'm telling you, as investors, they're going to go, I'm taking a chance here anyway. I don't think this is worth it. Those are the kind of the messages. And so no matter what, I want you to think of this as a new beginning. And so there you go. I don't know what that is. And so what I want to do with this whole assessment is just pretend like yesterday didn't exist. Okay? I'm going to say some things that might not be politically correct. There may be things that you totally disagree with. But remember, we didn't talk to you first. So one thing that's really important is to understand what tourism is all about. Tourism is a means to an end. And I work in the tourism industry, but that's what it's about. As a matter of fact, tourism is about reducing your leakage. So if you earn your money in San Juan County, and heaven forbid you spend any of it in Farmington, Cortez, I don't care, Salt Lake City, Provo, wherever, that's leakage. And communities that leak out more than they bring in go broke. And there are more ghost towns in the making today across the United States than ever before in U.S. history. And so one nice thing about tourism, it's the purest form of economic development. People come, they spend money, and they go home. It's the quickest, fastest way to offset the leakage. Because no matter what, you're going to go to these places for the nearest Walmart or the nearest Costco or whatever. It just happens. And so it is the quickest way. Now, I'm the first to say it shouldn't be your only form of economic development. But it's the purest, easiest, fastest way to get new money into your county. And that is why your cities, the county, everybody needs to be joined at the hip. Fact number 2 about tourism, the number one activity, not the reason they come, the number one activity of visitors in the world, shopping, dining, entertainment, pedestrian-friendly, intimate setting, and look at that. That is a big challenge because none of you really have an organized downtown. The best town in Utah is Springdale. Best town in Utah. That's from me. Because number one, for a population of 800, you can easily walk from one end to the other. By the way, they're going to widen the sidewalks. They're going to narrow the streets in Springdale. Guess what? All their retail restaurants and everything, they're all open until 8, 9 o'clock at night. That's another problem we're going to talk about with you. So there you go. And there's one of the things in Springdale. Fact number 3 is tourism is the front door to your non-tourism economic development. Anybody that's going to come here, site selector, anybody looking for a place to establish business, coming first as what? A visitor. Is this where they would want to live, their employees would want to live, where they can make some money, has good schools, good medical, whatever it is, they're coming first as a visitor. So it's the front door. And then number 4, for the first time in U.S. history, quality of life is leading economic development. In the past, it was always transportation, natural resources, whether it was mining, whether it's agriculture, whether it's fishing, you name it. And so that is very, very important. And then, by the way, the days of smokestack chasing are over. And I'm going to tell you something right now, is that I read that San Juan County is trying to go get the big factories and industry here. I'll tell you right now, not going to happen. I hear it everywhere. You're not on a major rail line. You're not on a major freeway. I mean, you're not on a major waterway. I mean, I don't know. Do you even have broadband? I mean, where we stayed, we had Frontier, and it was almost up to dial-up speeds. And and this is the age of economic gardening. So one fact that's really important. There are 19,500 cities and towns in the United States. Only 1,000 of them has more than 40,000 people. Only 2,000 have more than 20,000 people. So that means there's 17,500 cities and towns across the country, and they all want the big, heavy hitter. I've never seen one that does. Maybe a little bedroom community somewhere. But this is the age of economic gardening. So I want to give you an example. We're going to go to Hamilton, Missouri, population of 1750. It was the home of J.C. Penney. That's where he was born. The town was dying. Matter of fact, their downtown had about 70% vacancy rates. So they're now home of the Missouri Star Quilting Company, and it's Jenny Doan. And just so you get here's where they are. Where are they? There they are. They're right there. They're about an hour and a half away from Kansas City. And, of course, you're over here. Now, Hamilton, of course, we have something, everything. We have historic downtown. We have a livery stable, steam engine. I mean, there was all of this stuff. But then there's Jenny Doan. Jenny is LDS, and her husband lived in Central California with their 7 kids, figures, either Mormon or Catholic. And so I was one of 7. They have 21 grandkids. She had a knack for making things quick and easy, and she needed to do something to supplement their income because her husband, they moved their whole family out to Hamilton. Why did they pick Hamilton? Because they wanted their kids to grow up in a place where they could say, go out on your bike and be home for dinner. You don't do that in urban areas. And so they picked this place out there, and when they went out there, she goes, what did we get ourselves into? Her husband worked for the newspaper in Kansas City, and you know how newspapers are faring? Tough. And so she decided that she would start doing quilts. So she started creating these how-to quilting videos, putting them on YouTube, and within a year or so, she had more than 50 million views. 50 million. And what she did is she would take pre-cut fabric like triangle serry and teach people how to make a quilt in a day. And so they went in and said, okay, so her son Al and his missionary companion got together, borrowed some money, and bought his mom the old public library. The library was already gone, and they bought the quilting machine. And then they took over the old JC. There's Al right there. He's 34 years old. He's 6'4". He says, I always go to Salt Lake City and down to Provo because he's still looking for his wife. And so great family. And so they started buying up buildings because all these people were starting to come in based on all these YouTube views. I mean, and so they would take another building, then another building, and all these buildings were empty. And finally what happened is they made the big time when this happened.
Finally tonight, in a nation and a culture where everything's been sped up, some may be sad to learn that now applies to the time-honored tradition of quilt making. It's now possible to create an individual blanket work of art in as little as a day. And as you'll see, what this one woman has done is a good thing for her small Missouri town, putting the place on the map and becoming something of a celebrity in the do-it-yourself community. We get her story tonight from NBC's Harry Smith.
It looks like it's been a while since Hamilton, Missouri has been the hotbed of anything. But stop in at the Missouri Star Quilt Company on Main Street and you'll see dozens of people from miles around who have come to see and hear Jenny Doan.
All I was hoping for was, here's Jenny.
Doan figured out how to streamline a process that once took months and even years.
That's our whole goal, is to make it easy. It's always been one of these kind of mysterious things that's way out there that our grandmothers did.
Now just about anyone can make a quilt in a day.
People who quilt the old way.
The purists,
The
yes.
purists.
Yes,
Right.
purists.
And they look at somebody like you and you're kind of a heretic.
How cool is that? Well, here's my feeling. We're kind of like the McDonald's of the quilt world, you know? I know this looks a little crazy, but...
Jenny Doan's quilting revolution started with a few videos she posted on YouTube.
I know it looks really hard, but it's so easy.
In them, her philosophy. First, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And
I don't want to make something that's going to sit on a shelf that's so special that nobody wants to use it. I want to make something that is loved and worn out to the last thread.
turns out Jenny is so good and her shortcuts work so well.
She's given me my therapy sessions every day.
Sunshine in a barrel.
She now has 150,000 subscribers, and her tutorials have been viewed more than 28 million times. And the Missouri Star Quilt Company is the fastest growing business around. Which is that much more gratifying because Jenny and her family had been knocked flat by the recession, says her son Alan.
Looking around, the fact that we have 85 employees that all feed their families because of what we do,
They have twice
blows me
that
away.
now.
So your name is Nancy? Yes.
And because people now flock to Hamilton to see Jenny in person, plans are afoot for restaurants and accommodations. Amazing what can happen when you patch a few ideas together. Harry Smith, NBC News, Hamilton, Missouri.
And they picked that up from one more little video clip from this. Is it there?
Well, small towns across America have been facing tough times with many businesses and people moving out.
In Hamilton, Missouri, our Garrett Hake found a family business that's bucking the trend and revitalizing a community.
Who knew quilting could inspire this kind of passion?
I just have like this crawly feeling, like I need to get to buying some.
At the Missouri Star Quilting Company, they're using that passion to sew up a big spending niche market.
That first year, it was our family that worked the shop 8 to 5 every single day, and no one took a paycheck for the first year.
Al Doan took out a loan to buy a quilting machine and a small building to house it at the start of the recession in 2008. His mom, Jenny, hoped to turn a hobby sewing quilts into a modest business. The family would all help out. Now that family business is a multi-million-dollar enterprise, the largest private employer in the county, and the largest fabric provider of its kind in the world.
The secret to their success? Mom is a YouTube sensation. Her videotape demonstrations at this table have been seen by more than 19 million viewers online.
I never draw the line. I iron it.
Every day, quilters flock to the store to study in person with their online guru.
You're so sweet.
This woman lives in Florida.
She is to us what Oprah is to the world.
Now the company is using booming online sales revenue to expand, snapping up buildings in a crumbling downtown. This fall, they'll open a small hotel.
What we're trying to do is sort of be the Disneyland for quilting, right? Bring them to town, give them a place to stay, some food to eat, something, you know, some things to do, where every time they come, they just have a great experience and love what they see here.
But for Doan, it's not about the quilting or even the money.
I'm not passionate about quilting, but I'm passionate about what quilting does for our community and what you know, the opportunities that it opens up.
Now that company makes most of its money on online mail orders. I talked to the postmaster there. He told me two-thirds of the mail that comes into Hamilton, Missouri is coming in or out of their warehouse. They've had to add staff hours at the post office just to keep up. We're live in the newsroom. Garrett Hake, 41 Action News.
Great to see something happening in a small town like that. That's a great story, Garrett. Thanks.
So, international exposure. And by the way, they said 19, then 28, 50 million views. I mean, it's a pilgrimage destination. People come from around the world. Believe it or not, to little Hamilton, Missouri. Things for the guys to do. You know, because quilting is about 99% women. 180 full-time employees and growing. Full-time. And several new restaurants, conference training center, new retail shops. A hotel is coming soon. And then 2/3 of the mail is for them. And post office had to add 6 new employees when they're shutting down post offices. Largest provider of quilting fabric in the world. I mean, on and on and on. So bakeries are coming in, even other sewing places. And then this is Al, his former missionary companion, and his sister. They're the three who really started this. They were invited to the White House last year to win the Small Business of the Year award. And so this is what they've done to formerly old buildings that were just crumbling and falling down. And so the whole point of showing this is that's what you need. So it's the days of going and finding some big, huge company that's going to come in and create all these jobs. This is the future. And it doesn't need to be quilt. It could be something else. But there it is. It's a more vibrant day that's been for more than 50 years because of one family. And so, for you, the bottom line is tourism is going to be your foundation. Hopefully that won't be all. But if tourism is quality of life, promotes it because it promotes your parks, your trails, all the good things. And if quality of life is number one, then tourism is going to lead that way. And then somebody's going to come here. So for instance, our business. Our business could be anywhere. I travel 250 days a year, so unfortunately for me, I need to be near a hub airport. But you could have an online business or almost any business. We could be anywhere. And then in our case, like we have 7 or 8 employees. They all have family wage jobs. And so those are the kinds of things that you're looking for, but it starts with that. And so what I want to talk about today is how to leverage it, okay? And I'm going to go over 4 major initiatives. Number 1 is a marketing makeover. Number 2, I want to talk about how you monetize tourism. Number 3, I want to talk a little bit about business recruitment. And then number 4, I'm going to touch on the visitor experience. So you ready? Marketing makeover. Now, one of the challenges, and by the way, one thing that is really, really important, I do not want anybody to leave this room or watch this video, it's being videotaped, and say, oh, the county hasn't been doing a good job, or Blanding, or Monticello, or somebody hasn't been doing a good job. That is not what this is about. So this is not about throwing somebody under the bus or saying they did a bad job, period. Matter of fact, when people say, Roger, and I'll bet you, Pam, have you been nervous about this? Yeah, see? And I, saying, oh my gosh, what's he going to say? Am I going to get thrown under the bus? And so I just want you to, when you hire us to come in here and be ultra honest with you, it's because we care, really care. And then number 2 is that this is a new beginning. So they said, well, okay, Roger, because when you say, Roger, we're willing to have you come in, and we know we're going to take some hits, but you know what? We want to make it better. And so I do not want anybody saying, well, boy, they sure did a lousy job, because that's not true. And by the way, a lot of things I'm bringing up are problems all over the state and all over the states. So one of the challenges you have in San Juan County is you tend to market, oh, we have lakes, we have rivers, we have trails. You market stuff rather than activities. We're here looking for hiking, mountain biking, slick rock biking, fishing, hunting. We're looking for activities, not lakes, rivers, trails, mountains, canyons. We're looking for things to do. And so all of these are assets, but you know what? I want to know what the activity is. And here's a challenge that counties tend to have, and even cities, is your charge for Pam and for the county, our charge is to market San Juan County. And I'm sure for Harold and other people in the other towns, their charge is marketing their town. But you know what? I want you to change that to how can we best monetize tourism in the county or our city? Forget marketing everything you have, because I'm going to tell you some great things today that I want you to stop marketing. And so, or you can ask this question, what can we do to keep visitors longer, spending more money, creating memorable experiences? What can we do to do that? And so the very first thing I want you to do is quit marketing stuff. You're going to see about 60 of those. What I'm giving you today are suggestions. They are not recommendations, because I never talked to you first. That would be really presumptuous for me to come in here and tell you what you need to do when I never even talked to you first. That'd be like me coming in here and saying, here's what you need to do on Bears Ears. I'm not the person who lives here. That just wouldn't be right. I'm not even going to get in that debate. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. But quit marketing stuff and start marketing things to do. So when we see, and I'm talking about this guide, is Monticello National Forest, It looks beautiful. And then we get to the text, and it says, not all our outdoor museum is desert. Mountain peaks rise to nearly 13,000 feet. We create islands of forest. It lies in the northern portion. The U.S. Forest Service manages it. It goes on, and we have pine, fir, and aspen forest. It doesn't say one single thing to do there. Quit marketing it. If there's a trail there that is exceptional, market that. Is this making sense? Quit marketing vast areas of land. And visitors really don't care if the U.S. Forest Service runs it or if it's BLM. We want activities. And so the problem is, enjoy the sparkling night sky and campgrounds. You view your wildlife. And then if you want more, you can go there and dig up more information. And so, once again, I don't want you to throw anybody under the bus. It's beautifully written stuff, but it doesn't close the sale because I have no idea what there is to do there, where I'd even find it. It's a big area. Okay, another one. Bureau of Land Management. You know what? For tourism, do you think one single visitor anywhere on the planet cares whether it's BLM land or U.S. Forest land? They don't. And so, but once again, part of the problem is these are your partners. The Forest Service is a partner with you. BLM is a partner, so we better market them. I want you to start thinking about the consumer that's going to spend the money and come from that attitude. I want you to say, what would a consumer, what does it do to get a consumer here? Quit saying, well, we need to market everything to make everybody happy, and we don't care whether it's going to appeal to the consumer or not. And then you wonder why, well, gee, our tourism is going up 5% a year and everybody else is going up 20% or whatever it is. And so Bureau of Land Management lands. So when we see our outdoor museum primarily managed by the Bureau of Land Management, so, designated areas. We do have Newspaper Rock, that's good. Canyon Rins Recreation Area, Beef Basin, remote and accessible only by four-wheel drive. Shelter Ruins, Comb Wash. A lot of these, we can't even find any more information about them. You list them and then it says, so where's the details? No details. And we're going to talk more about that. And so it has some good stuff, but doesn't close the sale. Another one is right here. We go, Glen Canyon National Recreation. One of the challenges with that is, I know I'm going to trip over this sooner or later. One of the big problems is with this is most visitors see Glen Canyon as Page. It's Glen Canyon Dam. It's Horseshoe Bend. And so when you start marketing these, Red Rock, Deep Blue Water, Glen Canyon National Recreation, hiking, boating, fishing, exploring, use the same set of words that we use everywhere in Utah that has water. And so it incurs 1.2 million acres. That's not very helpful because I don't have time in my week in San Juan County to go visit all 1.2 million acres. And so what happens is, from Lee's Ferry in Arizona, and by the way, I got to tell you that Debbie that runs the Arizona Office of Tourism is really grateful for you in Southern Utah for sending everybody to Arizona. And I'm telling you, that's true. This is about keeping the money here. And so, these, they don't have any economic real value. So here's one. You know what? All these times I've been here about Rainbow Bridge. It's the largest one that you'll find anywhere. So while we were there, I said, let's go check it out. We end up going to 8 websites, spend an hour trying to figure out how to go to Rainbow Bridge. So we saw this here, so we go to the county site. So then I go up here and I find the little search engine, type in Rainbow Bridge, and it says, what do you want? Website pages, services, business, lodging, camping? I'm going, I don't know anything. So we start clicking on all those, trying to find information. At the end of the day, I could go to other, basically the bottom line is, if you want more information, leave our website and go somewhere else. Okay? And so you can go there in Rainbow Bridge. So I said, okay, let me try services and businesses. And then we finally came up, here's Halls Crossing, Rainbow Bridge, difficult to imagine, 275 feet across. Navajo Mountain Act permits obtained from here. People aren't going to sit there and call every phone number these days. I want to find out if I can do it online. And where is that Navajo office? Where do I have to go? How much of a hike is it? It is 14 miles hiking trail. And there's no visitor contact station, no campground, access by boat. So then I leave your websites and I go to Rainbow Bridge, look at their website, and I think this is probably run by Aramark that manage all that. Then I find the guided tours. And at the end of the day, what I found out is that what I need to do to go to Rainbow Bridge is go down to Page, spend the night in Page, get up early in the morning so I could get on one of the boats, right? And then spend all day doing Rainbow Bridge, then come all the way back to Page. And then since I'm there, and by the way, their city manager sent me a note, and he said, I want to thank you, Utah. Because when you send them down here to go do Rainbow Bridge, we're going to say, while you're here, you should go see Antelope Canyon. And by the way, you should take that hike and see Horseshoe Bend. It's world class. It's even better than Goosenecks. And by the way, they're going to go see Glen Canyon Dam. And that is just the beginning. And by the way, most of the boat rentals and everything are in Waheep or in Page. And then while you're here, you could go see Rainbow Bridge. So thank you very much. Don't market it. I know it's in the county, and I'm not saying you don't ever even mention it, because some people say, I'm willing to do that 14-hour hike, and I'll figure out how to go get a permit and where I have to go, or can they email it to me if you provide some details. But I wouldn't put it front and center, because what's the benefit for you? As a matter of fact, Jane and I drove all the way out to Hall's Crossing. I'm not sure why we drove. Well, we did because we're doing an assessment. We drove, and that hour-and-a-half drive feels like about 4. And it's a nice drive, but there's not one single place along the way you can spend money. So you're going, and you're going, and you're going, and you're seeing a little bit of Lake Powell. And there's signs that say visitor information, and they all point us down to this: visitor information, food, everything's down there. And I don't even know, I feel sorry, this is how you cart your stuff down there. There's not even walkways to get down to the ramp. So if you have somebody with a stroller or wheelchair or anything, I mean, that is your access to get out to this. So then we went down there, and we're down there for lunch. And by the way, we figured, well, we'll have lunch. And we left with about half a tank of gas, and I'm going, oh my gosh. They'll find us dead out in the desert, in a week. And so there was a concession there, but apparently it wasn't open. We went into the gift shop and said, oh, he's here somewhere. He's just doing double duty. And so we're there. And so I asked the guy in the concessionaire, so where's your visitor information? He goes, well, we don't do visitor information here. So then I went in the office and said, so are you the visitor information? He goes, oh, no, we don't have it. I said, well, there's a sign that says visitor information. It says, no, you have to understand, we're moving all that stuff to Bullfrog. I said, can I rent a boat here? No, Bullfrog. Everything is going to Bullfrog, just so you know. They will still have docks down there, and you can buy gas there, but there's no information about this county at all. Now, I'm not saying you throw them on the bus, because they are in the county, and there are people living there, and they have housing. But, I went there and said, can I rent a boat here? No, you have to go to Bullfrog or go down to, is it Waheep? Is that right? Waheep. And I said, so is there anything you can do here? He says, well, we do have the gift shop. And we did find a little gas station. And then he says, and by the way, the concessionaire, he's going to come back, and we had a hamburger, and it was actually very good. And then I said, and he said, oh, we also have Department of Natural Resources, we have an office. I said, well, how come it's not open? And they said, well, because it's not the season yet. I said, so what do you consider season? He goes, well, Memorial Day, Labor Day. You know what? That ended in the 70s. Baby boomers who spend the most amount of money, their peak months for travel are April, May, September, and October, and you don't even staff up except for 3 months. And so he says, well, why don't you go and catch the ferry up to Bullfrog? And, and so we thought, well, we almost did it. Just because I wonder if it's very scenic, but we could see Bullfrog. It's, what is it, a 20-minute crossing or something. And so, we could see it leaves every 2 hours, and it comes back, so, you could go over there. And then I thought, you know what, if we go over to Bullfrog and said, by the way, we have more restaurants, we have more stuff to do in Bullfrog. So in other words, you come into San Juan County, we want you to spend your money in Kane County. See what I'm talking about? Remember what I said. We're trying to figure out how to monetize it. And so if there's no local benefit in terms of local spending, then don't market it as a signature attraction. You could still market it because we do want them to succeed and we don't want them to close the marina. By the way, we drove all the way from Blanding out there and all the way back, and on the road, we saw 27 other vehicles. Round trip. Now, 4 of them had boats. 3 of them were RVs. But about 6 of them were service vehicles, government vehicles. And so you know, people are not really heading out there like we would hope. And then, so don't market things that are just things, big, huge places. Even with Bears Ears, you're going to see it coming up. I didn't even list it because I don't know what the activity is. It's just this big, huge designated area. So what do? I guess you go up to a viewpoint up a 6-mile dirt road, and then you can see the Bears Ears off in the distance. What's the activity? Don't promote it if there's no activity. And if there is an activity, then promote the activity. So am I already getting people angry? Okay, number 4. I would probably, you know what? When I very first saw the world's greatest outdoor museum, I absolutely loved it. But we have a couple of millennials that work for us, and their first thing was, it sounds boring. Museums are static, and they're not things to do. They're things you look at once, been there, done that. And so the only reason why I suggested maybe we don't do it is because this is what they said. Museums are seen as static. Museums are based on things to see, not things to do. Perhaps the whole county should become a national monument. I heard that. And so I went, okay. So if this was start over, I would also scrap that one. You know, because, and why? Well, number one, as a visitor, we know Bryce Canyon, we know the Grand Canyon, we know Canyonlands, and there's too many canyons, and quite frankly, I don't know that you're your primary draw. So what do you do instead? I thought, well, maybe what you do is market the area as Utah's Four Corners country. That's one idea. It's well used, and you got Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and then you market your key attractions. And I'm going to get into this. We think those are the things that should be front and center. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Or maybe you change it to just flat out, it's Utah's monument country. I mean, you've got the Monument Valley, Natural Bridges National Monument, Hovenweep National Monument, the Needles Overlook. I didn't put Bears Ears on here because we don't know whether it's going to be one or not. But something like that, I mean, I think you're more well known for your monuments than you are for canyons. And quite frankly, we saw some things here that we think are better than the national park. And then quit marketing the county. Nobody cares about counties. Have anybody in this room ever gone anywhere because it was a county? Stop it already. People don't care. By the way, I grew up in San Juan County, Washington. And there's San Juan County in New Mexico. San Juan County's everywhere. It means nothing. Have you ever gone somewhere and said, well, we're only going to go to San Juan County. There's the county line. Turn around quick. As a matter of fact, you know what your biggest challenge is here? People go to Monument Valley, and then they say, how fast can we get to Moab? And they're missing some of the greatest assets because you're promoting millions of acres rather than specific activities that make you worth an overnight stay. So I would absolutely do your best attractions front and center in everything you do, and here they are. Number one would be Monument Valley. The guided tours there would be, 3 activities. You want the Navajo arts and culture. It is a photographer's paradise. There you go. There's people know it. They say, oh, I saw this when I saw Forrest Gump running through the valley. I think, haven't they even filmed some of some of the desert scenes for Westworld, the series on HBO, in Monument Valley. People are coming to Monument Valley every time. So absolutely Monument Valley. By the way, it was interesting because when we saw signs for the tribal park, they pointed to this little industrial development kind of on the highway. It's not industrial. It's got like office and stuff in it. So we thought a tribal park was like a business park. Now, Jane saw it as, no, I saw it as a park, like a national park. But that might be confusing to some people. So that's number one. Number two, natural bridges, national monument. Hiking under the three bridges, that is one of America's most scenic drives. And I'm telling you, you could use me if you want to quote me on it. I have been in all 50 states extensively and been down Highway 12, Highway 128. I've been in Utah. That little drive there, I think it's like 9 miles long, is absolutely stunning. This, you know what? We are coming back as leisure visitors just to do this. This makes you worth a 6-hour drive from Phoenix and an overnight stay. That's an all-day thing to go hike that. We were here, and I start walking down this path. I said, oh, should we walk down there? And Jane's going, no, we have to go, because we're working. We have to see this whole county in a few days. And so, but that right there, you know, I sent a photo to my sister who also lives in Phoenix area and showed her that, and they drive through here all the time to go to Telluride. And say, well, there was never a reason to stop. One picture of that, and go, oh my gosh, we had no idea. I mean, that right there, number two. Number three, Hovenweep. Absolutely fantastic. Incredible Anasazi history. Hike that 2-mile loop. I mean, that is, you know, there was like 6 people there. I mean, it is really a sanctuary. Even when you're walking around, you're whispering. It really has this feeling of sacred. You know what I mean? You're just saying, wow, this is so pretty. I mean, when we were there, the smell of the junipers was like, wow. I mean, it absolutely, I've seen lots of ruins, particularly in Utah, New Mexico, Arizona area, nothing like these. And number 4, one of the most beautiful day hikes in Utah was the Needles Overlook. That was better than the national park. And the national park's exceptional. But that right there is number 4. And part of that is Newspaper Rock. So we didn't say, you know, on your way out there, make sure you stop at Newspaper Rock. So we kind of combined those two. And by the way to market that, see where social media got its roots. Facebook nearly 2,000 years ago. I mean, you know, I even thought, man, maybe they should change. Newspaper Rock is kind of old school. Maybe it should now be Social Media Rock. But really, that's what it was. They posted their news there for everybody to see. But it'd be a fun way to market it. And you're going to attract the millennials and the Gen Xers and stuff by doing that. See where social media got its roots. And then number 5 is Canyonlands National Park, of course. And I am really glad that you promote the Needles District. However, if I was you, I would just promote it as the Needles. The word district sounds like a downtown or something. I don't know how they ever got that. But I'm glad you're doing that and not trying to market the whole park, because otherwise you're trying to compete with Moab and everybody else. And it's stunning 10-mile scenic drive, amazing day hikes. And by the way, in one place they told us the day hikes were all-day hikes and everything. No, there's day hikes you could do in half an hour. And so some of your people were giving us kind of wrong. And the peace and serenity compared to the other national parks, I mean, we've been in the other ones. And we've worked in all of them, and they're even considering going to a reservation system, which we're totally against because it just would disrupt. But you know what? Zion and Bryce, they're seeing increases of 500,000 people a year. Every year, another 500,000. And so we go into Canyonlands, and we're doing that loop. In Zion, you know what? I'd be in a line of traffic, right? We'd be stuck at the tunnels. You know, but here, we did that whole drive. Wow. I just went, holy smokes, there's nobody even around. It's incredible. I think and then promote the drive. And by the way, in your photography, I want you to not just show pictures of the scenery that they're going to take. I want you to show the experience of the curved roads or even photos like that, because people can picture themselves in this going around that. Does that make sense? You need to show the experience. And so, of these, I think you put those 5 front and center. Now, did we see everything? No, because there's probably a lot of stuff we missed. If there's anything better than those 5, you let us know. But you know what? Every single one of those 5 is worth a day to spend here. I could spend 4 hours at Hovenweave. I could easily spend all day out there at Natural Bridges. You know what? Now you're monetizing it. Now you're monetizing it. And so, I have a good friend named Samantha Brown. Samantha Brown is on the Travel Channel. She just did a blog post called the 12. So she put, let me go back to that. So here she goes. Most beautiful place here: Scenic Route 12, Bryce Canyon, Grand Staircase Escalante, Calf Creek, Capitol Reef, Great Salt Lake, Bonneville Salt Flats, just there last week, Moab Arches, Canyonlands, there's one that you can take a piece of. Let's keep going, and Monument Valley. 2 of her 12 are here. So I emailed her husband, Kevin, who's a friend of mine, and said, Kevin, have you or Sam ever heard of the Natural Bridge? We've heard of, we've never been there. Tell us about it. And he sent me a little note back that says, oh my gosh, we got to go check that out. See what I mean? You're busy promoting all this vast land and stuff and saying we have a dinosaur museum, we have all this stuff, and not focusing on the things that actually that Travel Channel and travel writer stuff would pick up on. If you put them at the focus, they will focus on those, and you'll have people coming from everywhere. And so, then promote your complete activities. So if you promote those 5 and say, while you're here, okay, then you add Looking Glass Rock, which, by the way, I hiked up to the top of this, and then I started looking down going, oh my gosh, do I slide down on my butt all the way back down? I mean, it's a little bit steep, but it was pretty cool. Unfortunately, I went there in the morning, and this is best photographed in the afternoon when the sun's on the west side. These are the kinds of helpful things you can tell people. You know, so absolutely their best time is in the morning. No, I should change this because I think we were there. Were we there in the afternoon? Maybe I do have this backwards. But you should always put the best time when you could photograph the actual arch from this side. You can see it from the other side too, obviously. Bring good climbing shoes, a photographic gem. Wilson Arch, lots of people there. I mean, it's right by the highway, best time mornings. I put on there, that may be wrong. Bring good climbing shoes, a photographic gem, because I think that does face west, doesn't it, when you're coming up the highway? Or does it? Yeah. So maybe you put afternoons. But these are the kind of information that you need to give people. Okay, 4 corners. Native American artisans visit 4 states in 2 minutes. You know what? And that's a social media gem, but good luck getting any kind of cell service or internet service. That's something they need to fix. And yeah, it's cliche, but you know what? You know, so there's a guy, he's laying in all 4 states. His wife is over here taking the picture of him. I mean, we saw it over and over and over, and you would think that as a person that works in the industry that I wouldn't be like everybody else, but of course. But then I had to have that one picture where I stole a quote from some other famous guy, and I'm standing in Utah going, this is the place. So, absolutely, you got to promote that. And I'm going to talk more about it. And then, of course, goosenecks, you know, it's great. You know, what did we notice? We were there, and the average stay there is 10 minutes. We watch how people pay, come in, they walk around, 10 to 15 minutes later, they're gone. And so it's not something that's worth a 6-hour drive, but it is absolutely worth something that you're doing while you're here. And, I mean, it's almost impossible to photograph. I've just thought, great place to practice your drone photography. I brought my drone with me. I didn't have time to use it, but that would be a good way to photograph that because it's not like Horseshoe. It's got 2 of them. And so it's really great. And one thing you do in your photographs, just to show scale, these are rafts. I mean, people go, oh my gosh. And that's with a telephoto lens. Okay, so while you're here, you know what? Bluff Fort, learn about Mormon pioneers, see what life is like, great visitor information, gift shop, people dressed in period clothing, fantastic. When we first saw Bluff Fort, some of the log homes look pretty new. Well, they are new. And so I'm going, well, how's this authentic? Well, once you go in, it's pretty fantastic. And I'm going to talk more about these. I mean, Edge of the Cedar State Park Museum, world-class exhibits on Native American art and culture. Love climbing down. There's Jane climbing down in there. You know, the Dinosaur Museum. I mean, while you're here, it's the most fun museum of its kind in the U.S. I've been just about every dinosaur museum in the United States. I've never been in one where they said these are actual pieces of art that were used in movies. All those old movie posters by themselves are worth going in there. So they didn't say, oh, we have to be really authentic and stick really true to what dinosaurs really look like. They tell you, well, here's what the myths are. Here's the reality. I mean, one of the challenges with the dinosaur museum is when you walk in there, people think the first little room is it. And you keep going and finding more and more big, huge rooms full of stuff. Fantastic. And so I thought that was just great. You know, and then, of course, you know, Monticello Visitor Center, Frontier Museum, good information. See the 18,000-pound tractor. I mean, well, I'll talk more about all of these. But Blanding Visitor Center, best customer service on the planet. We spent $100 in there. We're trying to find places to spend money. Good luck finding a retail shop other than Trading Post. I mean, you know, and so we bought, I mean, tons of stuff in there. And they do a fantastic job. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So, do you see what I'm doing? Here are the 5 main things, the top 5 things to do in San Juan County. That'll beat almost anything, anywhere in southern Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. And while you're here, spend a couple extra days with us, because guess what else we have? That's how you do it, right? Say we have all this stuff, and then we're going, oh, what should we see? When should we see it? What is there to do? I would also redevelop your visitor's guide, and call it an activities guide or an adventure guide, because when we see the words visitor guide or Utah's Canyon Guide, which is fine, you know what? I think it needs to have more content in it. I think all of your marketing, everything in here is very, 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 very generic. And then you go to the website, and it's hard to find any kind of specifics. And so this is in Nova Scotia. We do a lot of work in Nova Scotia. South Shore, what they did here is they put top 5 local picks. See what I mean? Whether it's local picks or top 5 attractions. And then they'll even put in little things like, there they are, there's their top 5. And then they'll even tell you a website where you can get details. Then they'll tell you about each of the 4 seasons. So when we got here this morning, one of my questions is, we want to come back and we want to hike the canyon floor at Natural Bridges. If we do it in August, is it going to be 110 or is it going to be 75? See, we don't know. Well, you're at 6,000 feet, 7,000 feet. Does that mean it's going to be a lot cooler? Maybe not. Tell us about your seasons. What are we going to expect? You know, look at, they even do top 5 photo opportunities. I want you to start doing that, because you know what? Travel Leisure Magazine, Condé Nast Magazine, they always do top 5 this, top 3 this, top this. People love lists. You know, there they go, must see and do activities, the top 3, no more than 5. You know, and then 4 best picks, breakfast, lunch, dinner shops. And I'm going to talk about this. And then, so I want you to redo that. And then one other thing I think would be good. This is a private sector thing, and I should have brought a copy. If somebody wants a copy, this is a little book. It's about this size. This was done in Door County, Wisconsin. And they did 101 things to do in Door County. I would not use that. I would do the hidden gems of Utah's monument country, or whatever you end up coming up with. Okay? And because a guy wrote this, Richard Ruggia, he's a contractor. But what he did is he wrote this little book, like this one. Our favorite Sunday morning starts with breakfast at the White Gull Inn on Main Street in Fish Creek. Splurge on a slice of their famous Door County Berry sour cream coffee cake, sold, right? Then take a much-needed stroll down Cottage Row. From the White Gull Inn, follow Main Street to Cottage Row and turn right. The walk will take you north along a row of shoreline cottages about 1 mile before it turns up the steep bluff. At the base of the bluff is the sliver of park known as Champagne Rock, named for the little rock that hangs out over the water. Down and back is the perfect way to walk up breakfast, start the day. I'll bet you have 1,000 of these. Now, it costs him $4 to print these little books. You can now get them printed in full color for less than $5. He sells them to visitor information centers, to retail stores for $10. So he makes $5 a book. They sell them for 15 to 20. And what's interesting is when they did a survey in Wisconsin of people who purchased this book at a state park, they surveyed them, and 84% of people said, oh, we're going to come back because we only got to do 13 of them in there, and we still have another 80 to do. And so doing a little book of hidden gems, this could be a private sector thing. It's the cool little things. And so you probably have those. So if you had those two pieces, it would be great. This is what you need to do. The easier you make it for people, the more likely you are to close the sale. So we did one. Here's an itinerary. So let me give you a sample one. So we did one for the North Country area of the county. We did one for South, okay? So we kind of did Monticello and then Bluff and Blanding. And so we kind of broke it down. So we thought, number one, you get up in the morning, wherever you're staying, and go over to Peachtree Juice Cafe. Get there like at 8. It includes a gift shop as local artisans. It's a nice atmosphere. They focus on healthy foods. Any other details? You would put in your itinerary when they open, roughly what the meal prices are. They range from this to this. The more details you put in there. So there we go. Start with that. Okay? Then we're going to head towards the Needles Overlook. Go up Highway 199 to Highway 133. It's an hour's drive, very scenic. Any other tips you guys might have? You know what I mean? You can talk about even the drive to get out to the Needles Overlook. And by the way, with all of your photos, there needs to be people in them, unless it's a hotel room. We relate to people, not scenic vistas. When we see a person in a photograph, we relate. And by the way, if there was people eating a picnic lunch here, it also adds scale to all of this. So don't use my snapshots that I took. But once again, now we're going to head towards the Needles Overlook. And by the way, you need to also show not just the scenery. You need to show that this is an easy walking, so people with a stroller or people are a little bit older, just in that photo you can see, well, this looks really nice. It's very pretty. And yes, they have restrooms. And you just go, why would you show a picture of restrooms? Because that's so important. Okay? And I put out there, absolutely stunning, 270-degree views overlooking Canyonlands National Park, a scenic paved trail that is handicap and stroller accessible. Leisure walk around the rim, their handrails takes about an hour. This is one of the must-see sites in the entire Four Corners area, or whatever you call it. And there are restroom facilities. Okay? Then when you do that, come back into town and head over to Wagon Wheel Pizza. It looks a little bit rough on the inside. And I'll tell you our experience. We went in there, and there was the lady, she probably runs it or owns it, and then a young man there. But on the seats, they're torn. The formica on the tables is worn clear through the formica. And you're just going, even one of the menu boards is kind of falling down. I'm going, yikes. But it was rated well on TripAdvisor. That's how, by the way, that's how we've picked all these, TripAdvisor and Yelp. Okay? But it looks a little bit rough on the inside and outside, but the food is terrific. Order one of the pizza turnovers. See what I mean by promoting it? Which are each handmade and baked to order. So it's not fast food. We actually walked in. She pulled out the dough. She kneaded the dough. Then she was building our turnovers. Then she popped them in the oven. I mean, how cool is that? And so, you know, Little Pizza Parlor is the TripAdvisor favorite, and any other fun facts. But you see what we're doing here? We're promoting private business. This is how you monetize tourism. You don't just promote stuff that's free. Okay? And then, while you're there, you might as well go into the Frontier Museum. You know, shows how life was, and I made up some stuff. And do you see anybody, what's his name? Anybody know? Win. Great guy. I was on the, now this is where you make a connection. I was on the outside taking a picture of that building. All of a sudden, the garage door opens up, and Wynn comes out and says, you can't do justice. Come on in. And they're working on it. He told me it weighs 18,000 pounds. It goes about 4 miles an hour. He showed me the size of the pistons. They used to hand crank that thing. He said one time somebody was hand cranking, and it kicked back, and it threw the person clear across the shop. So now they have an electric motor to help. I mean, you know what? I ended up spending half an hour talking to the guy. And you know what? Here's the deal. Number one rule is get people stop. If you can get people to spend 2 hours spending doubles. Wow, I just spent half an hour talking to Win. Spending doubles. By the way, if you get them to spend the night, it quadruples. Overnight visitors spend 4 times more than day visitors. So, and he told me about it. It weighs 18,000 pounds. I mean, I even took a picture of Jane standing in front of it. Of course, she's like 5'1", and the wheel's like 8 feet tall. And then while you're there, go over to the Abajo trading post, maybe go in here, a couple of cute shops. There might be some we missed, we don't know. This one was closed because of a family emergency, and this one we weren't too sure what it was. And so, once again, spend some time. We even give them the times. And then you have 2 choices that work good in the afternoon. You could either go to Looking Glass Rock or the Wilson Arch. And you know what? When you see people there, it brings the scale. That's why you need that. People, they go, oh my gosh. That brings it to scale. So you give them that. By doing this, and then, by now it's 5 o'clock. So then what we want you to do is head over to Line Camp Steakhouse. And what a way to end the day. Often rated the best restaurant in the Four Corners area of Utah. The Line Camp is rustic but elegant Old West eatery. Head north on 191. You'll see a portable sign on the right heading back into the trees. Chances are you'll meet Bob. Now, Bob is probably one of the most politically incorrect people I've ever heard next to Donald Trump. And he just cracked me up. But everybody in there was in stitches, whether you agree with him or not. And he's just a crack up. And the food is absolutely fantastic. Now, one thing that's cool, people in TripAdvisor kind of complain, so you go in this old restaurant place and then it's got these really fancy linens. People don't realize that even the pioneers coming from Missouri or wherever, they packed their linens in hand carts. And so I said, you might explain that. He says, well, if people ask about the linens, I just tell them that I had my wives make them for me. Okay, Bob. But, but he doesn't take reservations, very relaxed. I mean, a guy walked in and says, you have a room? He goes, yeah, upstairs. Pick a room. And he goes, well, how much is that? He says, $69. I just went, wow. They're actually pretty nice. But, when and then I don't know what the hours and days and other notes. There's a full day. There was a full day right there. And then day 2. Then you go, first thing I want you to do is go to Blue Mountain Foods. Walk into Blue Mountain Foods and get stuff because we're going to send you a place where there's no restaurants, no way to spend any money, no food, right? So go in there and pick up drinks, lots of water, pick up a lunch, any specialties they might have in there. We did actually go in there. Unfortunately, they don't have a deli, and I'm going to get to that. And then head to Canyonlands National Park, but we're going to head out to the Needles. See what I mean? So by 9:30, we're going out there, and then arrive at Newspaper Rock. And that's where you do. Facebook was 2,000 years ago or 1,200 years ago, whatever it was. Paid parking just 100 feet away, so it's easy to get to. There's restrooms there. I mean, this is what you need to do. Any fun facts? And then you go to Canyonlands Park Visitor Information Center. That Scenic Drive, ending at Big Spring Canyon Overlook. Let's see, the Canyon Parks. You know what, did I do that wrong? Oh, no, this is actually going to the national park. Yeah, okay. And so there we go. Great place for a little break. Right here. And then we go there. And you can spend all day there. I mean, we haven't even talked about anything in Blanding or Bluff yet, and we're already spending at least 2 days in your county with cool stuff. And so take plenty of water, wear a hat, good walking shoes, and bring a camera. You can spend all day here. The visitor center can assist you with your activities, but they close at 4:30. Here's one challenge I had. So we went out to the park. We came back at 4:30. We assumed that the visitor center would be open until 5. The gal was outside pulling down the flag, and I said, "Do you close it?" She goes, "Oh, yeah, we close at 4:30. I'm going, "Oh, my gosh, really?" Well, can you recommend a place to eat dinner? Federal employees cannot mention any restaurants and I'm going, that is BS. I mean, they cannot say, well, we recommend. What you could say is, and this is where you need some hospitality training, even with national park, because I've been in almost every single national park monument in this country and in Canada. And in those cases, usually what the park employee will say is, what kind of food are you interested in? And they say, well, we want something really fast and easy. Or we say, we want a sit-down restaurant, or we want Italian. And they'd send us where? To Price or somewhere. Anyway. And then they say, well, you know what? I can give you a few. I can give you like 3 you might pick from, and just say these are just the ones I kind of like because I live in the area. And that way you're not you're not saying it's a federal employee. We cannot mention a restaurant. I mean, come on. You're supposed to be in the hospitality industry. You're in a national park. Okay? And so there you go. And then, but there's 2 days right there. And I didn't even talk about Lloyd's Lake and a bunch of other stuff. That's 2 full days. And I still have 2 more days to go. So if I'm in the South County, maybe what you do is have breakfast at your lodging choice if you're south, then go to Clark's Market. Now, we did go into Clark's Market, and Clark's Market actually has a deli, and I love it, Center for Adventure right in the grocery store. Fantastic. They can make sandwiches. They'll do whatever you need. So go there, start your day provisioning up. It's going to be a very fun but vigorous day exploring some of Utah's best attractions. Okay? Then drive to Natural Bridges. You'll need to pay the National Park fee in the Visitor Center, but they can provide you with maps, trail guides. It's easy. One of the best hiking scenic drives in the western United States. I cannot wait to walk that Canyon Rim, which is probably like a 20-mile hike, right? Something like that. I don't know. Well, the drive is 9 miles, but if you walk down in the Canyon Rim, what's that? It's a 9-mile hike. Oh, it is. It's a 9-mile hike, so it pretty much follows the road. To say, okay. And so, but those are the kinds of details we need on here. And then there are 3 bridges or arches or viewpoints along. I mean, this alone is absolutely worth a trip here. And then I even went on. You have these easy overlooks. We got restrooms. You get the idea. So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this. Then you go to the Homestead Steakhouse for dinner. And then, if you want dessert, go over to the Patio Drive-In because they make world-class milkshakes. I mean, the milkshakes are unbelievable. We had them yesterday. It's going to take me a week to wear it off. And so, they're half-pound Big B burger, well-known throughout the state. You're promoting businesses. And then day 2, once again, have breakfast at your lodging. Then go to Clark's Market again because now we're going to take you out to Hovenweep. It's very rural. By the way, the road going out to Hovenweep, you need to tell people this is very bouncy. If you're in an RV, I mean, it's not like it's all rutted, but it's just really kind of uneven. And so you need to be honest with people. And then why this is such a great attraction. Absolutely fantastic. And then when you're there, I'd spend at least 2 hours there. We didn't even have time to walk the full 2-mile loop, so we didn't get to see the best of it. But this is the kind, and then by the way, you bought your picnic lunch, here's the place to have it. And then drive to Bluff. There are a number of great things to see and do. Spend time at Fort Bluff, take a short trip to Goosenecks, I love Twin Rocks, that place is great. I mean, their trading post is more like a museum. It is fine art. And then dinner at Cottonwood Steakhouse. Trivia after outdoor dining all summer. Chances are you'll meet Rick. We met Rick, so now we know Bob and Rick. And I know that Rick has been here for 15 years. He lives in Philadelphia. He would have been here this morning, but he already had an appointment to take his car into Farmington, because the visor broke, And I mean, this is what you learn when you're here. Nice guy. And, we got Fort Crapper back there, And then you go, okay, now day 3, and then you promote Monument Valley. And I'm not going to keep going, but you get the idea. If you do this, you're going to help your businesses. Now, you may say, well, Roger, you just left out 6 other restaurants. Fine. I want you to do itineraries for couples. What if you're with kids? See, kids might have a different itinerary. And what you do is you pick restaurants and retail shops that fit that itinerary. You could have a girls' weekend out itinerary. You could have a couples itinerary. You could have a family itinerary. You could have a driving tours itinerary. And what you do is you're going to still focus on your business. You're just going to put different ones for different kinds of trips. Does this make sense? It takes time to do it. It took us a lot of time just to put those together. Because we had to say, okay, now how long did it take to drive from here to here? And if you did that, the people in this county that hate tourism, I understand it because you do the poorest job monetizing tourism that I may have ever seen. Okay? Now, part of that is because if we go out to a place like Four Corners, they say the food out there, there was no food. If you want water, how far a drive from there to Cortez? We went out there, you can't buy water, there's no food, as a matter of fact, you have to pay cash because they don't have any internet. People, they could make millions out there if they could just figure out a way to take credit cards because they have some nice art out there. But then, and by the way, I've talked to your state parks director, and I said, you need to monetize these because we have the same problem in Goblin Valley. There's no reason why a locally owned food truck business couldn't bring a food truck business out to Hovenweep. And Hovenweep would actually get some of the profits from it. And that person would also be a visitor guide. But I mean, there's got to be ways to monetize this. But regardless, by sending people to your local grocery stores and stuff, you can still accomplish it. And so, I mean, you could do, then you spend another day. You know what? Easy to spend a week in San Juan County and not go, oh, we spent 3 hours in Monument Valley and then we went to Moab. You have to change that. You need to get some professional services, photography, videography, copywriting. And you know what? Flowery language is not going to close the sale. Give me specifics. Millennials now outnumber the boomers, and they don't want a bunch of flowery. Cut to the chase. They don't even want to read a 200-page book. Can you give it to me in 100 pages? 50. Cut to the chase. What I always say is concise is far more compelling than clever. Okay? Provide specifics. I'll tell you what. One of the best brochures I've ever seen was over in Springdale. And it was privately done. Zion Guru is a little outfitter there, and they do guided tours. They did this, Hiker's Companion in Zion. There's the front cover, the back cover. But what they did is they rated the Watchman That Walk is 3 smiles. They go up to like 5 smiles. They tell you what it's rated, what it's here, difficulty, elevation gain, average hiking time, the distance, trailhead location, optimal time to hike. Here's the experience. Best brochure ever. Fantastic. I mean, and then the basics, what to bring, but then there's, here's another one, Emerald Pools. It's 2.5 smiles. This one over here is 4 smiles. I mean, 2 smiles, difficulty, easy, wheelchair accessible. This thing, I'm going, oh my gosh, a private business put together a better brochure than almost all the destination marketing organizations in Utah. Amenities, their ratings, their difficulty, their elevation gain, average hiking time. I mean, on and on and on. Fantastic. And that's what you need to do. By the way, with those itineraries, I just want to show you how to lay one out. We did one because we did a webinar about we have a video about itineraries. But so I had Jordan in office do one for Seattle. So the itinerary I gave you, you can lay it out like this and have it downloadable. In this case, so here's what we would do. We would just change this to you and say start at Blue Mountain Foods and then go here. But all you would have to do, this would be easy to lay out. And you could just have like 10 of these on your website. It takes time. It doesn't cost any money. But so we did this little one for Seattle. And what happened is when we did that one is all of a sudden I got a call from Tom who runs the Seattle Convention Visitors Bureau. He goes, Roger, when did you do the Seattle on foot itinerary? He's going, I have all these people coming to my office with these going, they want more copies of it. And we just did it just to show how to do an itinerary. And he says, well, we're going to start marketing that. But here's the deal. So where's the best fishing spot in the county? What would you guess? Fly fishing, anything. Lloyd's Lake, is that good fishing? No? Monticello Lake? Okay, here's my question. So we looked for fishing in all of your websites. You have way too many websites, by the way, promoting tourism. And here's what I can't get. What will I catch? Where do I get a fishing license? How much is that fishing license? What are your catch limits? When are the seasons? What time of day is best? What kind of bait? I mean, are there any fishing guys that promote private business? I cannot, when we're trying to plan things to do here, we couldn't find any specifics. And so, you know what visitors do? They say one word, next. And they go find a place that does. And so that's how important it is. Number 15, pool your marketing efforts. I'm telling you, you're far more effective as one loud voice than a bunch of numerous smaller voices. I actually was pretty sad to see that every single town here has to do their own tourism website plus a county one. It made it confusing. It made it difficult to plan. It made, and part of it I understand because I think the county's website is, no offense, is probably the poorest of them all. So no wonder they did. But I think if you pooled your resources, you could do a knock your socks off and have a section for Blanding, have a section for Bluff, have a section for Monument Valley, for Monticello. So there you go. Number 2, the more you have to offer collection, the further people come, the longer they will stay. Our secret shoppers were so frustrated. They said, well, I went to the Monticello website, then I had to go to the Blanding website, and then I went to the Bluff website, and then I went to the Monument Valley website. Oh, and then we found that there's a county website, and they all have kind of the same stuff. So why are we all promoting the same stuff on 5 different websites, plus Utah.com, the state's tourism website? And so, the Bluff, Utah, beautiful. I love the fact that we're in the visual first era. Nice, Bears Ear starts here, adventure, events in Bluff. Nice looking website. Monticello's, there's their website. It has rotating photos. Needles home base. Number 2 ranked was the golf course. We always wondered when we were in Monticello, it says home of the hideout. And we kept going, wow, I wonder if that was like Butch Cassidy, We didn't realize it was the golf course till later. But, and then, of course, there's Blandings, roads less traveled, welcome, explore Blanding. And then, of course, we have the counties one. And is this on like the county's physical county government website, or is it totally standalone? Okay. So what we want you to do is remember, these are just suggestions. These days, websites should look like this. This is Squamish, a town of 5,000 in British Columbia. Look at this. Get a lift on British Columbia. And visual first. By the way, if your website does not convert to mobile automatically, Google will knock you down on the listings. So your website must be mobile friendly. Even for you in hotel stuff, if it's not mobile friendly, which WordPress websites, most of them are, they will knock you down in the listings. Just something to keep in mind. But I love this. We love this because it works good on an iPad, it works good on an iPhone, it works good on anything, and it's visual. I mean, this one here is Murano, which is down near Tucson. I mean, even this with the moving images, this is the future. And so, I mean, they did, so many shops all the time. What's amazing about this is this template for this website was $70. You could do it yourself. We love WordPress. It's a nonprofit. You can manage it. Here's my pitch. Spend your money in content, not the delivery system. I mean, you could buy a WordPress. We did our website. We went to WordPress, and we bought a search engine optimization widget for $15, and our search optimization was 100 times better than it was ever before. And so, look at this one. This is Kelowna. This is a town in Colorado, okay? But looks pretty nice, right? Then and now, you can scroll down. And by the way, I tried to do this screen capture where we were staying, which was like death, almost up to dial-up speeds. But look at this. Isn't this a good little website? I mean, look at this. And as you go down here, by the way, this is moving with this. You can click on these just to skip down, or it goes all the way down here. And so, small town with a rich history, they give you all of this stuff. And you know what? At the end of the day, there it is. Guess what? This is a town of 30 people. 30 people. They did this. And by the way, WordPress, themeforce.com, that was the Avada theme. They spent $60 on it. Yeah, you had to have good photographs. You had to have some good copy on it. I think if you could do a county-wide website and then say, here's our top 5 activities of the county, here's the other things you got to do while you're here, and say, if you want information on our communities, here they are, click on them, and then we get all the content that are specific to those communities on there, you would do your economic development and your tourism a huge favor and a sigh of relief. Just saying. Next, got to redevelop your billboards. You know, this, and by the way, if you kept the world's greatest outdoor museum, I don't have any problem with that. I still like it. I'm just not sure that it's going to cater to the younger people who see museums as static. But if you did do something different, I could see you saying, welcome to Utah's Monuments Country, or whatever you come up with, and then put your top Monument Valley, Hoven Weep, Natural Bridges, Canyonlands. So they know right there when they come in that there's these 4 things. You just gave them a reason to stop on their way to Moab. Okay? The challenge with signs like this is it perpetuates an unfair stereotype of Native American people. And so for that, I just say take it down. You know, it's just not worth even doing. I've driven over this little bridge and the inn right over here many times, and I have never thought of it as being very good quality because of this, because that's what you see. So we actually pulled down in there, and Jane goes, well, this looks way nicer than I thought it would look, because we're judging it based on an old, worn-out, faded sign, which means the rooms and the furnishings there are old, faded, and worn out. People judge the book by the cover. And so, you know, this one here, start over. Number one, on a billboard, use one type style. We got 1, 2, 3. We got like 6 different type styles. It's faded. It's worn out. We got too much text. You know, I would just put, you know, home of Natural Bridges, Edge of Cedar State Park, Dinosaur Museum, spotless restrooms, visitor information. Boom, you gave me a reason to stop. Number one reason people stop in the world, restrooms. 2 of the best restrooms in the entire state of Utah are in this county, and they are at the Bluff and they are at the Blanding Visitor Center. And so, but this just, you can't hardly read it. Looks like it was painted 25 years ago. Same with this one. Couldn't read it at all. Not at all. All I saw was blandingutah.org, and then I stopped, and then I could kind of see it. Small town, big adventure, stop, stay, and play. No. Tell me what the top thing is I need to do that would get me to stop. Always tell me why. Answer why. And so, ineffective. And Dinosaur Museum, perfect. It has, I mean, a little bit faded. It could use some freshening up. Visit the Lost World of the Dinosaur. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16. I would say less than 14 words. So the best billboards, many of you, if you've ever gone across Interstate 80 from Salt Lake, you've seen these billboards at Little America. 24-hour relief, spotless restrooms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 words. And by the way, they raised these to 50 cents. You know, I went there and I asked them, you put those signs out there for spotless restrooms and 50-cent ice cream cones, how much non-ice cream sales do you get from it? By the way, there's a hotel, a gas station, a gift shop, and a restaurant. That's all. There's no town. Oh, he says, oh, those billboards, those? Oh, we do $12 million a year in non-ice cream sales because of those billboards. That's $1 million a month. Wow. We need to stop for the restroom. And heck, let's get ice cream cones. He said, we don't even care about if we make money on ice cream cones. It's all the other stuff they buy when they stop. So billboards, simple like that. Simple. Okay. I know. And by the way, I'm not a fan of billboards. I'm just saying if you have them, use them the right way. I think it's a tragedy when you're on a scenic byway and then all of a sudden you get hammered with billboards. So I'm not saying that I'm a proponent of them. I mean, states like Maine, they don't even allow billboards.
And I'm fine with that, but I'm stuck in bluff where we have the world's worst GPS service.
Right.
I don't know who to go attack to say, look, you send my people to the wrong location.
I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that because we had the same experience. Okay?
Because I'm a business owner and I don't know who to.
Yeah, I'll show you. Okay. Because, yeah, you're right. So I'm going to talk to you about that. But notice this. Simple. One simple graphic. Okay? So there we got things started. Now I want to talk a little bit about monetizing tourism. And remember I showed you this statistic? Have you ever wondered why Disney put downtown Disney outside each park to get that 80%? You're not getting it. We had a hard time finding a place to spend money. And so, I mean, you know what? I saw what is the little reservoir just north of Blanding? Is it the Rendezvous Reservoir? Recapture Reservoir. Every time we drove by that, I said, I could see there's little campsites along there. If there was an outfitter here that rented stand-up paddleboards, I'll bet that little reservoir gets pretty warm in the summer, right? No? So, but there might be a better place. But I just thought, I want to go do stand-up paddleboarding. I've always wanted to do it, but I want to go in a place that's smooth. I don't want rivers running through it or fast currents. I want to go do it where it's smooth. And I just saw that. Maybe it's Lloyd's Lake, maybe it's somewhere else. But these are all the business owners. I mean, is there a fishing guide service anywhere around? There's a business opportunity you need to recruit and say, if you would bring your fishing guide service here and move here, you need to live in our county, we will promote you specifically. Now, we'll promote you specifically the first year, but after that, we need to have at least 80% positive reviews on TripAdvisor. See what I mean? Because if they do a lousy job, they bring the whole county down. But, I mean, so, you know, I mean, I don't know whatever they are, I was trying to find any way that you monetize anything in this county, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find one single outfitter. I have to go to Moab. Don't make us do that. And so, I'm going to give you 3 statistics. Okay, for you in business, here you go. This is the 787 rule. Are you ready? 70% of first-time sales comes from curb appeal. We all travel. Have you ever said these exact words? That looks like a nice place to eat. 70% of first-time sales come from curb appeal. And I'm telling you, you as a county don't do a very good job on that regard. So I'll give you an example. We assume that this is long gone and been out of business for about 15 years. Am I right or wrong? Well, it's still listed in here.
He died a year ago.
See what I mean? So, okay, I'll give you another one. If you're going down the highway and you saw this basket, here it is. This is Indian art, Thin Bear Indian art. You saw this, and then you saw this one right next door. Which one would you go in? I'm telling you. Okay? 70% of first-time sales come from curb appeal. Number 2, women account for 80% of all consumer spending. I'm waiting. Usually there's a guy in the audience that says, that's all? But that's absolutely true. And women will go into places where they feel safe and welcome. Beautification. They also make 70% of the decisions of where we're going to spend the night. So, in your towns, have you ever wondered why people put a front porch swing, front porch swing or a rocking chair on the front porch, they may never even sit on it? Doesn't it make your home seem more welcoming? then why is it that none of your business bother to put a bench out in front? Even if we don't sit, you put a pot on each side. I mean, take a look at this photo. This was not staged. What do you see? Guys are going, been there, done that. The women are in shopping. The guys are there. And I have 2 words for you. Think benches. And here's the third one. And this is a big one. 70% of all consumer retail spending takes place after 6 p.m. So here's the scoop. You have us come to San Juan County, and we go do Hove and Weep. That was free, I think. We might go see Canyonlands and pay whatever the park fee is. We will go to Natural Bridges, and we'll pay that park fee. We can go do all of these things and spend a whopping $50 in your towns. Plus, we might eat at one restaurant, in the morning or in the noon or at night. And you know what? Then we come back and stay in your hotels. Everything's closed. Everything's closed. Springdale, County 800. Every single retail shop and restaurant is open until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. They get it. Okay? So, 787. There you go. So one thing I want you to do is we have a whole set of videos. And we want you to start, we want you, maybe SBDC, maybe somebody, the university, somebody will take the lead and set up the first Thursday. We're going to do a brown bag lunch, and we're going to watch a video. It costs nothing. Utah Office of Tourism, these are yours to use, even though we produced them for the next 6 months. So go find, there's one on how to stay open after 6. And how to do that. I mean, there's all of these. And these, by the way, are not just for towns. They're also for your businesses. So you can each individually watch it at home, or you might get together and watch it, whatever. They're there for you. One of the things we want you to do is go work with your superintendents and say, we need to better monetize. Would it be possible to get a concessionaire agreement? So in Emery County, we did a deal with state parks where if you want, we said we need to monetize Goblin Valley. I mean, you go there, people are there for 4 hours, and they can't, and people, they've had more aid cars going there because they get dehydrated and pass out because they can't get water anywhere nearby. They can't buy it. You're not monetizing it. And your state tourism, Fred Hayes, I talked to him for quite a while, and he says, we need to figure out a way to monetize these concession agreements. But what I did say is, if you do it, make sure the business is in the county where the attraction is so that it creates jobs. I mean, they keep coming back to monetizing tourism. They will. Same with BLM. So, we had this problem up in the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge next to Brigham City. And that is BLM, I think. And so what they did is they did a strategic plan, and we had them put in a whole paragraph to do 2 or 3 concessionaires. One that would rent Segways, so you could do Segway tours through the bird refuge. Wouldn't it be great if you could do that? If you have some of these BLM lands where you could have a concessionaire go there on busy weekends or busy times, and they rent the stand-up paddle boards or kayaks or canoes or bikes. I mean, a lot of people are coming into this county. We didn't bring our gear with us. Help us out. We looked everywhere. I wanted to buy a pair of hiking shoes and socks while I was there. Good luck with that. Finally, somebody said, well, maybe Ace Hardware. See, we don't think of that. But those things are missing. Come on in. Then what you do, this is what we want. Okay? And I think they'll work with you. There's ways to do it. I mean, this is economic development now we're talking about. And then you need a wayfinding system. Wayfinding system is directional signage. Because you know what? I mean, they point to these things. One thing I noticed is that your towns, Bluff is really cute, but for Blanding and Monticello and even Mexican Ant, some of the other towns, you know what? When you drive through town, you're going, if you drive 1 block off the highway, in Monticello, Blanding, any of these, you see a really gorgeous town. But there's no wayfinding that tells you this facility is here at all. Luckily, people find Edge of Cedars because they see the one sign on the highway that tells you to go straight rather than make the bend and the turn in this town. There's just no wayfinding. And by the way, wayfinding should always be decorative, never more than 5 items on a sign. It can be on a post like that. It could be like this one that kind of fits the wooded atmosphere. I mean, in Appleton, Wisconsin, they did these. These are $650, and they're mounted on an existing power pole. They have an aqueous coating on them, so ice, snow, graffiti won't stick to them. They put up 18 of those. Their retail sales went by 25%. The only reason we found the Dinosaur Museum is because we could actually see it from the highway and their billboards. But if you had directional signage, you wouldn't need as many billboards. And so every single community that has done a wayfinding system has seen an increase in their retail sales and services. Otherwise, we don't even know what you have in this county. And so, look at this. And by the way, I'm going to make one thing right here, is wayfinding. So there you go. There you go, wayfinding. 14 and 28% a wayfinding system. And one thing that's really important about this, navigation systems are not substitute. Because everybody has nav systems now. I mean, I could find anything on my phone. Well, guess what? We use navigation systems to look for things we already know exist. These signs tell us what you have that we didn't know exists. I didn't know there was an LDS temple in Monticello until we drove back there. And by the way, we saw a really nice school. All of a sudden, we had a different impression of these towns than we had when we were on the highway. And so, I mean, you know, and I've been rubbing it in all over state. Look at Logan does it. I mean, look at little town of Kayenta or Ivans out there near St. George. They do it. Come on. By the way, I know a lot of your roads are state highways. Vicki Varela, your state tourism director, is a very good friend of mine. And she has done something that I wish the other 49 would do. I went there and had a meeting where Fred from State Parks was in her office. The guy that runs Utah Department of Transportation was in her office. She was there, along with Dave Williams, her deputy director. And we had Val that runs the entire economic development for the state there. And states run as all these things are silos. And I've been doing the assessment. I said the number one problem in Utah is wayfinding. If you will do wayfinding as a community, which means if Department of Transportation puts them on the highways, the signage you need, will you put them on your surface streets? If you say we as a county will commit to doing once they're off the highway onto our surface, we will commit to making sure the wayfinding ends at the university campus. I mean, I didn't even know you had an art center next door, which is that way. I had an art center next door until this morning when we were walking in. Didn't even know you even had it. The Utah Department of Transportation is now at the table for tourism. And you could use the Utah Office of Tourism to help you get what you need. But there has to be two ways. You as communities, and it might be, you might do this. You might say, okay, we're Blanding, we're going to pitch in 10 grand. Monticello, you're a little smaller, so you pitch in 5 grand. Bluff, you're even smaller yet, so maybe you pitch in 3 grand. I don't even know if I have my numbers right. And then the county will pitch in 20 grand, and you create a partnership and say, okay, we've raised some money to do ours. You need to help us on the highways because you own those. You can get it done. Now we're talking pure form of economic development. All the stuff you're seeing is economic development. It's not just tourism. So, you also need visitor information kiosk. Your visitor information needs to be working 24/7. This is $10 at Staples, or you need to have your visitor information needs to be working around the clock. And you need to put a sign, 24-hour information, even if it's just come up and grab a guide. And I did not see any 24-hour visitor information anywhere in the county. And so, I mean, these are just really, really simple. By the way, before we travel, we use brochures and stuff about 32% of the time. But once we arrive, look at this. Brochures are number one, even more than the web. 81%. Once we're in the county, wouldn't it be great if we could pick up, Utah's monument country or whatever you end up doing? I mean, heck, if it's Canyon country, who cares? The deal is we pick this up, and if it has specifics, here's the top 5 must-see, and here's the complementary activities, and then, because there's some good information in this. So, 81%. Because you know what? Once we're here, we're in the car, we're at a restaurant, we're in a hotel room, we need that. So doing these little things, I mean, this was in Moses Lake, Washington. It's kind of homemade. They could do a lot better. And on the back, they're going to add brochure distribution. I mean, this here is in Kingsport, Tennessee. There's their visitor information kiosk. And by the way, if you want a brochure in there for private business, it's like $5 a month. That $5 a month has a volunteer or a person go out and restock it and keeps it clean. And if there's money left over, they build another kiosk. We have a whole video of how to do this. In Flemington, New Jersey, they went and bought a prefab little bus stop. But this little bus stop is actually a visitor information center. How cool is that? Or, you want to do this? Love it. North Platte, Nebraska. They paid a local person $300 for this. It has a flap on the top. It has a state guide, their state guide, their local guide, and the very best of guide. I think you do one guide that have the very best of San Juan County, top 5 experiences, those kinds of things. Because everywhere I went, no visitor information after you're closed. Travelers aren't traveling just 8 to 5 or whenever. I mean, Blanding, they're open until 7:30, which is great. But what happens if I come at 8? Or on a Sunday or something. And by the way, I've worked all over the country. These things are empty. I mean, this was out there. Was this out there? Yeah, like at the ferry. Why isn't there a brochure that says, guess what? Here is Utah's monument country. It's got our best. I mean, these people are on boats, but this is empty. These are all over the county. And by the way, one of the challenges with this is we have all this stuff to read, and on the back it's got all this information. I mean, how many of you said, honey, could you go back to your car and get a clipboard so we can write down some of this stuff? What are you going to, there's not even a brochure that has this information on it. And by the way, it's really talking about wildlife. It's really cool information, but it doesn't tell you about the best hike, how long it is, where to park, nothing. No specifics. These are all over the county. Every one of those would be an opportunity for you. Could we put up one of those? And you can't put private businesses, by the way, on these. But you could do one that's countywide. And say, if we buy the holder, we put it up, and we maintain it. And by the way, we'll maintain your whole display for you if you'd like. Give them something. Because we're at all these places, and there's nothing that tells us why we should go into Blanding, into Mexican, into any of these places. Next one. I know I'm going fast, but we're going to get all this. It's on film, and we're going to write up, by the way, an assessment findings and suggestions report that will have all the stuff in it. Blade signs. When we're coming down the road, retailers, we see signs that are perpendicular to us. I have no idea what's in this shop. This sign is up too high. I can't really see it. So what we do is we resort to little sandwich boards. And so can you tell me what's in any of these shops? Whether I'm walking, and remember, I'm not just driving by at 30 miles an hour or 40 or whatever they're going out there. We're walking down here. I have no idea what you have to offer. So little places like this, I don't know how they do. The only way you see their signs is if you're across the street. There's no blade signs. These are blade signs. And notice what's really simple about them. Restaurant, trains, collectibles, chocolate. Not the name of the store, but what you're selling. Nantucket. I mean, look at that. And so, blade signs. Every great town has blade signs. So there you go. For you that are on highways, it might be slightly larger. But by the way, this is Canmore, Alberta. Blade, look at that. Easy. These are in Lethbridge, Alberta, 100-mile-an-hour wind loads. So I don't want to hear, we get high winds, we can't do blade signs. That's not true. Built 100-mile-an-hour wind loads. They were just putting these up when I was there. So then what they do is they can change, if a merchant changes, they just change out this board. And they were just putting them up. There's some suggestions. No lower than 7 feet, no higher than 9 feet. You don't want them all over the place. You don't want to create sign clutter. But this is something that businesses need to do. And they're not. And then, next one, beautification. Invest in beautification. Extend window displays to exterior spaces. These merchants spend 10 or 15 minutes every single morning putting stuff outside. When I drive through your towns, I don't know whether you're in business or not. It's hard to tell. And you have a lot of vacancies along the highway. When you do stuff like that, it draws our attention. This is in Canmore. You could do what they did in Fredericksburg, Texas. You know what they did? They went and got handouts. They said, we want to line the street with pots. And so one merchant gave them $10, another one gave them $20, somebody gave them $150, I think. They took whatever money they could, they went over to a nursery wholesaler and said, when it comes to October, we want any pots you have left over if you'll sell them to us just to get rid of them. Even if they have a fine crack in them, they only have to be 21 inches opening, because we don't want little pots there. And so they went and did that. Then they brought them back, put them on a side street and said, help yourselves. They didn't say, you paid $5, you only get one. They just put them there, and then they put them down the street, and then they did a cool thing, is they brought in a dump truck yard of soil, and then they paid Boy Scouts, band, cheerleaders, any youth organization that was looking to raise money, they had them plant them. And they plant them with evergreens. This can work in the winter too. And by the way, when the kids planted them, there was no vandalism because they took ownership. Their retail sales went up almost 30% just by making a place look appealing. So, that's what I'm saying. Look at this. Before, after, retail sales went up 35%. This is true economic development. So let me talk about that. Okay? You need a recruitment program. You do not have to fly around the world for this. I have recruited $3.2 billion worth of retail and business. And I'm not here to pitch for a job because I don't do it anymore. I physically recruited that much money because the first 10 years of my career, I helped develop a Whistler Resort in British Columbia. Then I did Harbor Town on Hilton Head Island. Then I did Copper Mountain Resort. Then we did Sun River Resort in Central Oregon. And in every case, it was my job to recruit business and industry in these. And number one, in my 10 years of doing that kind of work, I spent $60 on advertising. That's it, total. I was on the phone. And I would go find, who do we want here? And I would go find them and say, what would it take? So for you, number one, you need a retail outfitter here that can rent bikes, rent stand-up paddleboards, take people out, kayaks, canoes. They have shoes. You know what? I would go over to Kanab. There's a little outfitter right next to the Best Friends downtown office. I'd walk into that one. Or I would go over to Springdale to, what was the Zion Guru, and say, you know what? You're doing really great here. We like your reviews and everything. What would it take for you to open up a second one over in Blanding or San Juan County? What would it take? That is how I recruit all business. Because right now, if we have to go to Kanab for any outfitting, well, we might as well just stay there. They have all the slick rock biking and trails and everything, right? Number two, we would love to see somewhere in this county a retail incubator. It could be a room this size. And in it, every tour guide gets like an 8-foot booth. And it by so-and-so Jeep tours or so-and-so fishing guide. And they might pay $100 a month. But we could go in And as visitors say, ooh, I like that guy. Let's get on his website. You know, and they might even have a little computer there. They don't even have to be there. But wouldn't it be great if we had a clearing place where we could go? And it might even have lodging choices where we could go in. And you might have one person working there, and maybe it's a person from one of those businesses working there, and they're there one day every 3 weeks because you have 30 of them, right? So you have one day a month, and they're there. I would love to see that because I know you got guides, there's a Jeep tour stuff. I don't know where to find any of this stuff. Wouldn't it be great if you had that? You know, a place that rents boats, bikes, whatever. Okay? Biggest challenge. Try to have breakfast in this county. I got to tell you that in Blanding, you are underserved in Blanding. Bluff does really well on that front. But in Blanding, I'm going, oh my gosh, we're going, well, there's the drive-in, there is the homestead. Was there hardly any place to eat in here for a population of 3,500? You're underserved by like a dozen restaurants in Blanding, unless there's some that we don't know about. What you do, your upmarket boutique lodging, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, okay, because I'm not quite done. But what you need to do is say, where are the holes we can fill in this county that will get us to better leverage tourism, because it is your number one industry right now, and hopefully somebody will come here with other things because they love the recreational lifestyle. Rick at Cottonwood Steakhouse is one of those. Moved here from Philadelphia because he just loved the lifestyle. So what you need to do is make a list, and then you go find who do we want specifically. We call them, we go visit with them, we sit down and say, what would it take? I can help you find a place. This is the true essence of economic development. It's filling the holes. And you have a lot of holes to fill. I even did a video about how I've recruited all this stuff. And it was pretty easy. I mean, it takes somebody that's sold on it. And so, visitor information services training. Now, one of our people said, hang on a second here. Okay. And I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not even going to say where this happened. My first call went to a recording. The second call, about 10 minutes later, was picked up by somebody named X, who sounded out of breath and annoyed, as though I had interrupted her or she had run a long distance to get to the phone. I told her I was planning to take a road trip with my husband, would be in the area in early May, and wonder how big the city of Monticello is. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean, okay, well. She immediately corrected me and told me, it's not a city, it's a town with one intersection. And so our Secret Service said, wow, it sounds like a very small town. Then I asked her if there's any place to stay or get a bite to eat. She told me they have 8 hotels and a B&B and a couple of restaurants, one that serves fresh, healthy, vegetarian type of cuisine, and a comfort food place as well as a burger joint. I asked her which place was her favorite, and she responded, my own house. Some of you are going, I think I know who that is. I laughed, and then I asked her if there was anything interesting and fun to see and do, and I also told her I'd love to get some information by mail about the area. She said she'd send me a city map and then asked if I liked to golf. She mentioned they have a very nice golf course called the Hideout. She also mentioned I might like to explore some historical areas like the nearby Hovenweeb, home of 68 Anasazi ruins, which I think there's more than that, which would require a short 1.5 mile hike on unpaved trail, and most of the trail is paved. Pretty easy and well worth the effort. She said there are some beautiful natural bridges I might find interesting. And then 3 days later, we did get a package. But you just have to understand that. But in this person's secret shopping, I finally asked the question, look, if you were going to go there, what are the top 3 things you would do based on all your research? And the very top of her list was, here it is, meet Harold Lyman at the Blanding Visitor Center, number 1. Way to go! And then Hovenweep, and she went down the same 5. Our secret shoppers picked the same 5 we picked. But they did. They spent like a week or 2 just trying to plan all this. But it says the first call, let's see, was answered by Harold Lyman, an older gentleman who sounded like that. I sent her a text yesterday and say he's only 34. Who sounded like he had just been dozing off from boredom. He was very talkative and knowledgeable, fun to talk to. After a couple of minutes, he asked me if I'd like to get some information by mail and offered to send me a marketing package and then asked where I'd be coming from. When I gave him my address, he got very excited to tell me soon, let's see, that you were going to be down there for spring training, right? Did you go down there for spring training down to Phoenix area? Yeah, okay. He gave me weather information. It's just beautiful. It's sunny. It's in the 50s. He said, make sure you stop by the visitor center. He'd love to meet me. I received Harold's package about 10 days later. The envelope was handwritten, and the enclosed cover sheet was personalized with a note at the bottom. His warmth and expressions almost chokes me up. His warmth, this is a tourist. His warmth and expression of kindness made me feel like family, and I cannot wait to meet him at the Blanding Visitor Center, and the workers there, and the worker there, her name is Laura, with my same name. That is how you make a connection. So, gateway signs. So I'm moving through this quickly because we're running short on time. This one you can't even read from a distance. You never put. So what I put here, never use script writing. You can't read that unless you're standing in front of the sign. Never more than 6 words, and no text over graphics. Just an FYI, okay? Not a big deal, but just FYI. That's great. Simple, understated, great. City of Blanding, great. You know that you're in Blanding, and that's fine. It's totally great. And by the way, this saying here has been copied by about 1 million places, but I am so glad that you used base camp or hub, because so many people use the word gateway, which means you pass through it to go somewhere else. So congrats by doing, the hub or base camp, which means you spend the night here and then you go out. Okay? And so some other notes and suggestions to wrap this up. Now, this here, you cannot read this text unless you park right in front of the sign. And so we pulled in here, Welcome Center, and now this was on a Sunday, and we saw the 2 girls standing out here. This little place was open, but this whole place seemed to be like empty and devoid. I don't know if it's gone out of business or if they're just not there yet. There's nothing that says our peak season is Memorial Day to Labor Day. It's just a bunch of vacant buildings. They weren't interested, and so we walked over to the restrooms. They were locked. And they didn't bother. We walked right past them. Then we went over to the visitor center, and it was locked. And then we know that they have Turquoise Arts and Crafts open, information, Jeep Tours open, but the Jeep Tours wasn't open. Then they talked about a food court. Is this supposed to be the food court? So this is our first stop in the county. There's no 24-hour visitor information. It just says, sorry, we're closed. There's not even hours when and if it's ever open. We finally went to the girls and said, are there any restrooms? Nope. So when's your visitor information open? Oh, you need to go to the real one, which is 4 miles down that way. Well, then why do you have signs pointing us in here? I don't know if they're moving this over to the other place or what they're doing. But we start off with a bad first impression of Monument Valley. And maybe Monday it was fully open and there was merchants and stuff there, but we were just like, whatever. We did go up and visit LaSalle just to see if there's anything in there. Cute little, we saw the library, we saw the post office. They did have a little store, and what was really cool was in this county, it had a mix of the Red Rock Desert, the high mountains, the plateaus, and the high plains. You really had a mix of every kind of climate, which we thought was really cool. And we saw that from LaSalle. And then we even saw this. We just said Dieter Custom Saddle. I thought, man, maybe if we had one of these little incubator spaces, he would just put a saddle there that says, I custom make saddle. We want these little businesses to survive and succeed. And so we thought, why don't you do that? I mean, even this at LaSalle, I thought, man, if I was them, I would have high school students go open up a pop-up ice cream stand in there during the summer months. Everybody's cruising by on the freeway. Got to get people to stop. Now, I don't know if it has electricity or anything. I just thought it was kind of a cool building. It's right next to the highway. We saw this, and we have no idea what this is. Because if it's a discovery center, then that would be like an interpretive center, but then it's a school. And visitors don't pop into schools. Schools are things you register for. They have classes every day, and you go to those classes. So we have no clue really whether this is, there was all these open signs and everything. We drove up there, and we could see it's, I don't know if anybody's maintaining it, but we figured it's still in business. It looks pretty new. And then there's all of these things, but there's nothing in them. And I thought, well, maybe it's not done yet. But we didn't know what it was. So we got on our phones, we got in there, and even when you go to the website, let's see, is this going to start going? Do I need to? Okay. You go to the website, it says Forest Corner School. So it's a school. We have a Discovery Center. It just has an address. Then it's our hours. It's at $9 to get in. And then there are going to be volunteers needed. And then we've got our mission, our vision, our history. Absolutely, absolutely nothing to do there. I mean, it's all about, and even when you start digging further, you start saying, oh, we have X amount of square feet. We have these breakout rooms. They promote the facility and the organization. I have no clue if there are any activities there. None. Except here. So we figured it out. It is a children's museum for the environmental sciences. And I'm assuming that's what it is. And so it's not a tourism thing. It is a locals thing for their kids to get involved in outdoor recreation. And so we never went in because there was nothing for us as adults. And so what you have to do is you need to focus on, if you say you're open to the public, but I think you're only open for little kids. They do it. We did find some tours, but you have to reserve them several weeks in advance. But we had to dig. And so one of our challenges was, number one, we had no clue what it was. And there were other people driving in there, looking at it, and then leaving because we have no clue what it's about. Okay? I'm probably making a lot of people angry right now. But I'm just telling you from a first-time visitor. It's a beautiful facility, but they spend too much time marketing the organization and the facility than what the outcome is of somebody going inside. And $9 seemed a little bit steep. Most of your visitors here because of your natural assets. And most of the people see this as an affront because they don't know. They don't know what you know about Bears Ears. I mean, you know what? When we went to Natural Bridges, the ranger, first thing I said is, how often do you get asked about Bears Ears? He goes, every other person. Because you know what? Obama talked about it, in November when he designated it, and then Trump just talked about it and said, oh, Utah is such a great state, but that's up to review. So people are coming here for it. And they think, wow, it must be pretty cool that this, and then they see this. Now, I totally get it. I'm not going to get involved in the debate. To me, it seemed like a good idea, but it should be about 3/4 smaller. It seemed like it was too big a vast area. But I don't know the debate. We're not going to get into it. But you have to remember that visitors are here for your natural assets. And most people in America can't figure out why somebody wouldn't want to be home to a national park or a national monument. Remember, they don't know the whole story. What they see is that. By the way, Lynn, I'm going to embarrass you. When you go on TripAdvisor, by the way, TripAdvisor is the most visited website on the planet. When you go on TripAdvisor, there is no place to rate communities. So when they rate a community, they will probably rate it over their visitor information center. There was nothing special here except that a woman behind the desk was defensively answering a question from another visitor about the locals' negative attitude towards Bears Ear National Monument. Now, I asked Lynn about it, and that isn't the conversation she had. But if you say anything, remember, these visitors thinking, we're here for Bears Ears, and even if you say, well, here's the negative side of it, the positive side, right? What are they going to pick up? The negative side of it. But he really wanted to vent because it was impossible to get a breakfast in Blanding unless you want to go to Subway. Restaurants closed, disappeared, or the breakfast burrito place had no eggs. Not a welcoming town. Keep going to Bluff. So, Lynn, this really upset her because they have like a 99%. Am I right? It wasn't about you. It was a person being able to vent because if they hear anything negative about a national monument and you had no breakfast, not your fault. She's going, man, I really take this. They really take this to heart in Blanding. You know, we did try to go here. It was closed because of a family emergency. It did be back from 5 to 6, and they never made it back. We did see the temple. I was just shocked that a small town like Monticello had a beautiful temple like that. I was just surprised. And then we thought, like, school, very nice. I mean, if you could get people 1 block off the highway with some wayfinding signs, we're going to see a different side. I mean, I think a lot of your motels do a good job. I'd like to see some hanging baskets there. Just anything, but at least it's well maintained. It looks very nice. Here's a fact for anybody in the lodging industry. The top 15% of lodging in terms of quality get 85% of the leisure travel business. Got that? Top 15% in quality. So when we see stuff like this, we go, no thanks. Class act of the county. We tried to book a room there 3 months in advance. Booked solid. Booked solid. Now, a little negative. I said, you know, we're here on business. This is emails. We're here on business, and you had 1 room available. It's a queen room. We like to do a king room, but we need to have a desk in there. Response? There's pictures on the website. And I said, okay, but I'm not sure all your rooms are different. I'm not sure which queen room you actually have left. And he says, just look at the website. There's pictures. And finally, I called. They said, sorry, we're sold out. So, but beautiful place. Booked up well in advance. I'm telling you the ones that we would pick. We thought this was a great little place. Now, it doesn't really fit us because we're here on business. We need printers, scanners, we need table, And so I'll tell you what we did. But that looked really great too. And then the other one that we loved was this one, Stone Lizard. Is that your guys's? Yes! Oh, La Posada's yours. Does he have Stone Lizard? Oh, he does. Well, La Posada, by the way, I'll go back. And once again, this is where you have you might need wayfinding. Okay, so let me talk about you. But all the wayfinding, on wayfinding, there is a thing called TOD displays, tourism-oriented displays. They're blue, and you pay for them.
But they take 9 months to get established.
Yes, we're trying to speed that up. But meanwhile, on the highway, if all you put is the word lodging, and it directs them up the street, that's all they have to do. And so for you, we did find you. However, we found you because we were doing the Bluff Historic Loop. That's how we found you. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But at Stone Lizard, looked fantastic. It had great reviews, but for other hotel owners, they put out the pots, they have a chair, they got, I don't know why the chair's facing that way, but we've got little tables. I mean, just really great. I already told you about this. This is the gal there that says, we're a federal employee, we can't mention anything. But I would actually work with them because, there's these things are empty. So, I think you could work with them on help distribute some brochures for you. This just needed to be monetized. There are artisans around there, and we don't know if the artisans are organized by the state they're in or if they're just there. And almost all of them only take cash. And people, First of all, this parking lot was cram full. There's no food, no water, no drinking fountains, nothing except art. No visitor information services, nothing. If I was the county, I would say, can we rent one of these booths and put visitor information for all of San Juan County here in Monument Valley? Something. And the artisans were very nice. But, you know, when you only take cash, I mean, people these days don't carry around wads of cash. But it was very nice. Restrooms are still under construction, but there's no sign that says we'll be opening in June, July, August. We don't know when. You know, and by the way, there's no Wi-Fi there and hardly any cell service. So, like, I took a picture of Jane. Here's Jane in Utah. Here's Jane in Colorado. Here's Jane in here. I said, Jane, you got to put these on your Facebook. Say, I was in all 4 states, and I did it in a minute. Woohoo! Because people love this kind of stuff. No way to post it. And so we did go over to Goulding's Lodge. We did not have time to go in. I mean, the setting is fantastic. And one thing, so we didn't get a chance to go in and look at the gift shop, and I think they have a museum there. Not sure how good it is, but, you know. And then I read somewhere that the Monument Valley or Goulding something airport is like the second busiest airport in the state of Utah, behind Salt Lake City. Is this it? It really is? You got to be kidding me. No. I mean, look, St. George has commercial flights. Really? That's the second busiest. I mean, we just thought, really? I mean, that's really cool. But I just thought that it cracked me up. I went, that can't be right. So why is that?
They're flying out of Vegas.
Oh, is that what they're doing? I think that's awesome. I was just shocked. Can they rent a car or what? Oh, is that what you do? Okay. So we did go here, and the first thing is I was shocked. $20 a car. If you have more than 4 people, it's more than that. I was pretty shocked. But as you can see, we're in a long line, and we paid it. So you know what? Might as well. I mean, I thought, wow. And by the way, this place was full of tours of people from around the world. There were people from Germany, Netherlands, France. I mean, it was just unbelievable how many people were from out of the country. I did overhear this couple, I think they were from the Netherlands, and they're speaking to somebody in English. They said they were surprised that there were so many Mexicans living here. And I said, so I went up to them and I said, you know, these are Native American people. These are the Indians that, it's like, really? But you know what? They're foreign. They didn't know. They saw a word Mexican hat, you know, it must be, you know, Hispanic. And then there were, by the way, you know, we live in Phoenix. And so there was a roadrunner on a wall and another couple, and they were from the Netherlands. They were sitting there taking pictures of it. And so I explained that's a roadrunner. They eat meat. They eat, you know, I was telling them all about the run. They were like, I said, go into YouTube and see, and Google roadrunner kills rattlesnake. And you'll see how roadrunner is one of the few animals that can kill. They were just like, whoa, you know, but beautiful place. And if we would have had time, I would have done one of their tours. Now, this is a self-driving tour, but I probably would have done it with them because they're probably explaining stuff. Has anybody ever done this? How is it? Must be fantastic. Great. And how much is it? How much does it cost? Do you know?
$75 for 3.5 hours and $120.
Okay.
Depends on who you go through because Goulding's is $45 to $50 a person.
Well.
We got this information from Goulding's. Yeah.
Okay. But still, you know, I mean, they had the trucks lined up there and they were filling them up. You know, they have a great little museum there. The gift shop. It's a fantastic gift shop. When we were in this gift shop, we bought Dwayne, I can't remember Dwayne's last name. He lives in Blanding. Black Horse. We bought 2 pots they did. They're just absolutely fantastic. So we bought them in this gift shop. And then while we were in the area, we went down to the river. We actually went down the boat ramp to see the river and what it was like. We checked out Mexican hat boats on. And by the way, talk about curb appeal. It's a little bit older and everything, but we kind of like it. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's got, you know, I just thought this looks really nice. See what I mean by how we judge places is by curb appeal. I don't know whether the food's good or not, but that's how we judge it. On the other hand, you couldn't pay me to stay there. And no offense. But what you see is the wood's all worn out. There's no beautification. I mean, it just looks like, I said, Jane, I think this place went out of business. She goes, no, the open sign's lit up. But see, people judge you by the rooms might be really nice. But I've gone places where I have called my assistant and said, you know what? I know you booked me in here. I can't stay there. We make judgment calls by this. Fair or not. In Bluff and in most of the places, Bluff does, you know what? I made a statement to Jane. I said, Springdale's is the best town in Utah, but I think Bluff is number 2. Cool. Because it is what it is. It's not, Springdale is very much more upscale, galleries and everything. It's a different kind of thing. But Bluff, it's just kind of organic. But I think overall, I think the merchants do a great job. Look at it, just putting these chairs out there. Just doing that. Nobody's probably ever going to sit them, but it just says, welcome. So we did do the Bluff Historic Drive, or the Historic Loop. And it was really cool. We saw this house, really pretty neat little house. There it is. That's interesting. And then we saw this one here, which has it's kind of like wallpaper brick on it. And then we've got 4 different kinds of roof and everything. And I'm not too sure how historic that is. And then, and then this is the very next house. And I'm not too sure, and Europeans think we have a really distorted view of historic. We think that something that's 20 years old is historic, and they think something that's 500 years old is finally historic. Beautiful. If we saw this and we're going, oh my gosh. So it got us to go around, and that's where we saw Lapasade. And then we went around over to Twin Rocks, and that trading post is amazing. That is fine art. And by the way, we may not be able to do this, but we wanted to eat lunch there on our way back out because they served Native American food, like the old fry breads and things like that. We really want to do that. We just didn't have time when we were doing this. We want to do that. That is cool. And that's why you promote that restaurant and what it specializes in, because it's different. Okay? The visitor center, fantastic. I got a question for you. Is this belong to the church? Yes. It does. Okay, that's what I thought.
It's Hole in the Rock Foundation.
Oh, okay.
And the money is donated from the families, and they built the cabins and donated the material.
It is.
Down once a week and help there.
Okay, it's fantastic. We walk in the visitor center. The lady was wearing the pioneer dress. She was so nice. They have cookies in there. It was just like, wow. And then we walked around. I wasn't sure. It's probably not that authentic. But another thing that really got me is that you can go here and you see these different stories of the Lyman family, but they have buttons in all the different languages. I thought, yes! Because did you know according to Rick, and I don't know if this is true or not, he said about 75% of tourism is foreign.
It is in the foreign.
Well, they got it.
It is. 75 to 80% of our tourism in Bluff from March to the end of October is European, Asian tourism.
Awesome that they had all these different languages. You just push the button in your language and you get the whole experience. You could easily spend 3 or 4 hours just in Bluff Fort or Fort Bluff. Bluff Fort, right? It's just, even the grounds, guys wearing cowboy hats and everything. So you just really felt the Western experience. And I thought it was just fantastic. Now, you also have a few of these. We were over in Kanab, and there were all these tour buses going down 89. And they're with their cameras out the windows. And we're going through Glendale and Orderville. You know it? Glendale, Orderville, down into Kanab. And when we were doing the assessment, we counted more than 150 cars, just parts piled everywhere. Some of them were old cars. I said, geez, you ought to take these old cars and put them in an empty lot next to each other and put the year in front of them, put lemons in lemons. But you see all the blue tarps on everything. And so we had about 150 people in their audience. And I said, look, you got to clean this stuff up. Because they had this like times 100. You had this like times 3. And I said, when these people are coming in, they're saying, wow, this is how Americans live. Or they're saying, so this is how people in Utah live. And they all kind of looked at each other. And then I said, you know, they're on the bus, and they're here to have Brigham Young send all these people down here about Orderville, how to create this utopian little town. And these people on the bus saying, so this is how Mormons live, huh? And the whole eyes went, it finally got to them. But you have to understand, that is how people are going to judge you. So, you don't have many of those. Now, navigation. We typed in our navigation system, the Blanding Visitor Center. We were coming back from Monument Valley, so I just typed it in. And right here's the Visitor Information Center, right? It says it's right up there. So what we did is we drove up there, but when we were out at Four Corners, there was, we had the navigation to here's Four Corners. We drove right past it. And then Jane said, whoa, 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 that's it back there, because it said it was up like another mile. The car in front of us in the middle of the highway turned around, so obviously they got the same information. And then we turned around, and so here's what you could do. Navtech, NAVTEQ, does most of the maps. Google does their own. But if you're in a car with a navigation system, like a lot of us, or you use a Garmin, it's Navtech. What you want to do is, if you Google Navtech Map Reporter, you can go in there and they will change those to the right locations. You can go in there and say that business is out of business, or you don't have me even listed, and it's free. So Navtech Map Reporter. And it'll take you to a page, and I didn't get this to come up. It'll say locate the POI on an address map, and then it will correct it. Now, it only corrects it when you update your Garmin or your car or whatever, but it's a great way to do that. You can add things that are missing because yours, so what is it, where does it tell them? Somewhere totally different?
Well, because Utah is laid out on a grid system, we have east
Right.
and west, even in Bluff, where
Right.
we only have 300 people, so it puts me on 7th West, because 7th West
Oh.
go all the way to the highway, so people end up on total residential back road. I'm going to break my car driving down this road.
Okay.
Because I don't even show up.
So you know what? I'm glad you brought this up. Another thing you should do is, I get it. I understand how Brigham Young came here, came to Salt Lake, and how they laid out the streets so it covered wide. You know, some of your neighborhood streets are wider than all the highways. I keep going to towns in Utah and saying, you should just deed that property 20 feet out to the property owner, put in a new curb and let them put lawn in there and maintain all these enormous wide streets that people want to go 80 miles an hour down. But one thing is if you don't understand Utah, South 200 West, and they're going, what the heck? And so what you might do even on a website, if you're driving and visiting us in San Juan County, we want you to understand how addresses work. That there's always a center street, a Temple Street. I mean, I think you have a tabernacle in Blanding. Is it a tabernacle or a church building? I mean, so if they understand that, then it'll help them navigate things. But when you see, I didn't see in 200 South, 400 West. That's even worse. And so if you just did a little deal, say, finding your way in here, it is on a grid system, and once you understand it, it's easy to find things. You always find Center Street, and then just understand north, south, and, east, west. And if you did that, it would help people, even though I still need to be fixed on the navigation system. But you're right. Otherwise, they end up coming to you, and they're already kind of angry, right?
Totally frustrated.
Yeah.
As are the people who live on the street that
Right.
They go knock on their house, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, great, I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah. I mean, so this is the Blanding Visitor Information Center. So Harold, you got to work on that. It's not that inviting. No, anyway. But by the way, they're getting a great new sign. It's being done now. It's going to be fantastic. They gave me a sneak peek. And yes, thank you. This is how you create friends for life right there. Right there. Number one reason people stop, use the bathroom. And by the way, Blanding has like one of the best ratings of any visitor information center I have ever seen. So I went in there yesterday and said, okay, what do you guys do? And they said, so Lynn was there, and she goes, this is what we have behind the front desk. And she said, oh, let me clear out all this stuff. I said, no, I don't want it to look like it was staged. But when you sit back there, that's what you see. And by the way, even the state of Utah is starting to use this. Make lifelong friends with people we may never see again. You know, in our business, you know what our philosophy is in our business? Number one, we're not a production shop. Every place we have ever worked, we really generally care. We really generally care about San Juan County. I love this place. But you know what I told them this. I said, when we go meet somebody, we shake hands. But when we leave, it's hugs. That's the attitude they carry. That's why when I read what Laura here wrote about Harold, it chokes me up. I mean, this is just a tourist. But the reason he did that, and by the way, they give you a letter that's signed by the mayor. And then in this case, Harold wrote a note down the bottom. But on that letter, it tells you what the drive times are to each of the main attractions. Now, it does say in there are like 30 designated trails and something else. Now, I'm not sure where I get all that information. And if I asked, I'm sure they would find it for me. But those are the connections that really make a difference. And I just thought that was awesome. I think that Edge of Cedars, we went there. It's fantastic. Does anything take place in this space? Then why don't you put up just a poster that says 2017 upcoming events, invite us back. Invite us back. Just put a poster there and said, here's what's going to happen here. I mean, it's obviously in the event space, but I don't know when or if anything's happened. How about in here? Does anything take place in these rooms? What do they do? Meetings, just local meetings?
Business.
Okay, so it's not really a tourism thing.
That's also where the orientation video is shown.
We didn't know that either. See what I mean? Okay?
They do periodic programs about local prehistory and history.
What they need to do is put a sign right outside that door that just says, did you know we do periodic programs? If you'd like to know more, go up to the front. You know what I mean? Invite us back. That's another thing you don't do as a county. You have all these opportunities to say, you know, we have a rodeo or whatever event you have. There's no signs anywhere that ever invite us to come back. None. Okay? I mean, it's just world class. Just absolutely fantastic. And I love this. Sorry, my camera was out of focus. I love the fact that it says, tell your friends you're here, Facebook. Every historical attraction should have those signs there. And they should include the @ or the hashtag. But I just thought that was great. And while we were there, we saw, do you have these all over the place? Little horny toads? They're great. That's cute. We don't get those down there where we're at. We get scorpions. So we did find this place. We didn't go down further. We didn't know they had an art center. What is it? Art and what's the next building? Which didn't even know. And then of course, you know, when can we move in? You know, and then we even saw. I thought this is such a fantastic, beautiful building. But is it like a homeless shelter or a for abused women? Is that what it is? Okay, that's what I thought. There's grass growing up in the sidewalk, but I just thought, wow, it's such a beautiful building. So we went out of our way just to see what it was. We did go into the pottery. Now, see this pot? That Dwayne made that. They wanted $845 for this pot in Monument Valley, but it was 50% off, and we bought one. So we only paid like $425, $250. And we bought another one. We felt ripped off in Monument Valley. It's not going to take long for that word to get out because their prices are 5 times more than everywhere else. And that, you know, I know it's a money. Visitors, when stuff like this happens to them, I probably would never buy anything in that gallery again because I know I'm going to get ripped off. It'll come back and bite you. And yeah, they may say, who cares? They're all international tourists. They're never going to come back. They're never going to go into Mesa, Mesa Verde pottery. and everything. But I just want to tell you, that was just our personal experience. We bought 2 of those. We paid probably, luckily it's 50% off, so we only paid 4 times more than we could have if we would have bought it here.
I've had that argument with them.
Okay? But you know what? You may have to even say it. You may have to say.
Tell them straight up, I don't like what you're doing.
You have to start thinking about your customer.
It's a northern Arizona feature. Any of the northern, all across I-40, all of them.
Oh, yeah. Flagstaff and all that.
And then 50, 60% off.
Yeah. It doesn't last very long. We had mixed feelings about first of all, they say free tour. We thought it was going to be guided, and it probably should be guided. First of all, we went in the gift shop, and we were there with other customers, and there was nobody there. We could have backed up a pickup truck and emptied out the entire front of the store, and nobody would have ever known. We finally went in the back to get somebody to come up and ring us up. So there's another lady there and us, and we wanted to buy stuff, but nobody there. Doors wide open. The reason mixed feelings is you go back there, when we buy Native American art, we assume that it's handmade, probably out of their house or somewhere that they're, you know what I mean? We go back there and it's a big factory. We did see a couple of artisans, and she is sitting there painting this pot, and so they are still hand done. Here she is hand painting a little canoe. So at least we got that experience, that these are still done. But I just had, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just had, you just always, so when I saw Dwayne's pots up front, I said, are those made here? And they go, no. He makes those as host. And I went, oh, thank you. You know what I mean? Because I'm willing to pay a little bit more if it was handcrafted at his own house or wherever. So if you know who he is, tell him to send me a note. I think his work is incredible. Now, he might buy the pots there, and then he takes them home and does his thing. Dinosaur Museum. Went to the Dinosaur Museum. It was fantastic. It is the very fun, best dinosaur museum I've been in because it wasn't all so serious. I mean, the posters alone are worth going in there for. And I asked, there was a young girl. We got there at 4:30 or something. They closed like at 5. And I'm almost done. And I said, we'll only be a few minutes. She's going, yeah, okay. Because I said, so how often do people come in and they think, oh, we'll just take a quick look, 15 minutes. She goes, oh, I had it happen just, last week. They said they'll only be here for like 15 minutes and they're here till like 6:30. And she's not going to close and chase them out. Because that place, by the way, you don't know. Yeah, I mean, you keep walking and there's more and more rooms. So in the end, I'm done here. You can make something happen. What you have here is flat out amazing. I mean, I love Moab. I mean, I love these places. But what you have here, if I could come here and spend a week and go see world-class stuff and have 20 people around me instead of 10,000, I mean, go into the Arches or any of these other ones. I mean, and I guess the goal is to have that problem. But the thing is, you got to get people to stop. You need to promote your anchor tenants and then say, while you're here, you got to check out one of these. And you know what? If you have kids, you got to go in the Dinosaur Museum. If you're adults, you got to go in the edge of the Cedars, because that's more than, little kids probably get it too, particularly out back where they can climb down in. But what you have here is world class. One thing in closing. I do not want anybody to say, well, the county or so-and-so hasn't been doing a good job. You know what I would do? Even when I talked about the world's largest museum, Canyonlands, you know what I would do? I would get somebody from the county, I'd get Blanding, I'd get all your towns together, get like a group of like 7 people, and just come up with something. We kind of did the Four Corners country because we think that is a selling point, even though the Four Corners it's something really you would do as you come in or as you leave, more than, we made a special trip all the way down there for it, and, we got our photos there. We were there for half an hour. But maybe if they put in food and stuff, then maybe it would be worth, a special trip for. And by the way, we did Hovenweep on the way down. That made sense. But what you have here is easily worth a week's stay, and that needs to come out. You're not a pit stop on the way. I mean, I can't believe all these people in Monument Valley, and they make a beeline from there to Moab. And your greatest assets are those 5. And they're one of them. But the other 4 are up here. And I think they're as good or better than anything you could find anywhere else in this state. I think that natural bridge is worth a trip from anywhere. I mean, that is just absolutely phenomenal. So, with that, I went over my time. I said I was going to go till 11:30. Does anybody have any quick questions? I don't mind talking for a couple minutes. Are you good? Yes.
What's been your experience, I mean, your perception of this negativity and the challenge of overcoming some of that negativity?
Yes.
With even the public leaders? I mean,
Those are the ones I read. I read statements from county commissioners that this is me calling out people. I mean, I read, when I read things online that say, we don't even want tourism, or that, I mean, I don't know how you change that, but the more you say it, the more it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're just, even for like Bears Ears, if people would just say, we love national monuments. The way this went about and the size of it just doesn't work for a lot of things we're trying to accomplish. Even if that was your dialogue, people would get to understand it rather than say, no monument. And so that's what comes across. When we go to a restaurant and say, so how long have you lived here? And they say, well, we've lived here for 35 years. Or, I can't believe how many young people we ran into that they've never even been really out of the county. It was like, wow, shocking, Oh, we went to Farmington. Ooh, But, and then I thought, really, did you go to Lagoon? Wrong one, But I think there needs to be people that say, you know what, we really have something special here. We really do. There's no reason why we can't be a standalone destination. You know what I told him, Kanab? Kanab says, come to Kanab, and then we're going to send you out an hour and a half to go to all these places. And then when you come back, by the way, we'll all be closed. Well, why would we come back? You need to be a standalone destination. They need to work on that. And they promote Lake Powell too. I'm going, why do you guys do this? Why are you sending everybody to Arizona? Now, for Kanab, I understand the North Rim. Absolutely, they could own it because you can get to North Rim from Kanab better than you can from Page. But for you, I just think if there's some dialogue that just says, this is the first day of the rest of our lives, and we are really climbing out of a rut. We really have something special here to promote. And I think you got to take, the state is spending tens of millions of dollars to send people here, and you're saying we don't like tourism. They're not helping Flaming Gorge a whole lot.
Can I tell you the number one reason that Bluff is your shining star in the
Sure.
county? It's because we don't have that attitude.
Right. We saw it.
We want them to be there.
We saw it.
And it doesn't matter if it's about catering and trying to draw the people that you want.
Yeah.
Maybe I happen to enjoy a glass of wine, for example, with my dinner. But maybe I don't. But it's not about me. It's about the people who are coming to visit. And that, to me, is the mentality that people have to get over. It's not about me. It's about, it is ultimately about being successful.
And then I remember when we were working in the Olympics. President of the church at the time was Gordon B. Hinckley. Gordon B. Hinckley came out and said, stop the closed door attitude and get out there. Because, I think the Baptists had their convention in Salt Lake City. It was kind of like in your face, right? He said, welcome them, stuff like that. Now, I didn't feel that here. I didn't feel any church pretentiousness. But when we were reading things, and when we talked to people at these little restaurants and stuff, we would just ask them, so what is there to do around here? And you know what? Usually they will say nothing. But even the young people were saying, oh my gosh, you should go do this or this. So I thought that was good. But we say, so what's it like living here? Well, we're the poorest county in the state. It's like, really? Is this your slogan? And that, and so, but Bluff, you could see, we're tourism. We know it. We love it. We embrace it. You know, we roll out the welcome mat, and we felt that. Now, and this isn't, because I tell you, the people at the Blind Visitor Information Center are world class. The problem is they can't control everything around them. They try, right? They try. But I think it needs to be, I always say, I do closed door sessions with county and city councils all the time. I do what we call closed door study sessions. I say rule number 1 is stop with the stinking thinking. You have stinking thinking, then there's time for change. And this is probably going to get me in a lot of trouble. But I'm telling you, that's what you hear.
As a tourism business owner in this county, I am frustrated beyond belief because I'm tired of hearing that my industry is low pay. I pay one of the highest wages of any place to work in this county. Honestly, I do. You know, I mean, yes, I hire room cleaners.
Here's what.
I pay my room cleaners sufficiently, and I'm tired of being put at the bottom of the barrel that we don't provide good jobs, we don't provide
I'll get you
anything else. And
so let me tell you something. I sat on the board of the United States Travel Association, based out of Washington, D.C. Tourism is the #1 industry for small businesses in the United States. Number 2, the people that own those businesses are making a family wage job off it. Number 3, even the lower income people, you can say, oh, housekeeping and tourism is low paying. I'm telling you, she's right. They've done the U.S. Travel Association, the Travel and Tourism Research Association have done the research. Yes, there are some low-paying jobs, but you know what? They're entry jobs for people, or they're part-time jobs for people that are learning how to get into a career. I mean, I'd love to see you have food trucks out there, and you say, well, gee, that's not really full-time, but if we have 6 of them, you know, maybe the food trucks do so well, they turn into an inline retail store or a little restaurant, cafe. Tourism is the second largest industry in Utah, and it's one of the top 3 industries in all 50 states. It is the thing that comes out of the the 2008 recession, the Great Recession. It was the #1 industry to rebound. And I'm telling you, the future of San Juan County is going to be based on tourism. And tourism will lead the way for non-tourism industries. Somebody wants to open up a software company here because they just love the lifestyle, and so do their employees. And so they're going to open up shop here. That is how tourism opens the doors. And you don't have to go far to find that. Go to Boulder, go to Springdale, I could name Park City. They're there. And so you're absolutely right.
In your report, the people that are in this room, majority are...
We're preaching to the choir.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I'm requesting of you is that in your report and in somewhere in like that first 2 paragraphs that will be hopefully read by those who are in more of the power seat, would you please keep that in mind?
Yes.
Because to me, that's one of the biggest challenges that we face. And I sat in front of the county commissioners and said exactly what you said. Please say it in a different way without chasing away our customers.
Right. But even if you just came up with some way about Bears Ears, I just made that little thing up, we love national monuments. Heck, we are, we're really the home of the Monument Valley and, these other monuments. But the challenge we have locally is either the size or the scope, and we just, but the way you approach it is we're just, and I asked a lot of people about Bears Ears. So what are your thoughts on Bears Ears? And I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry I asked that. And you're a visitor that's coming here to visit places like that. By the way, I didn't even mention Bears Ears in any of this stuff because I don't know what the activity is there. We saw a 6-mile road going up into the hills, and the guy at the Natural Bridges says, well, I went up there in my Honda Fit, and he said it was kind of dicey, and so we said, we're not going to go up there. But absolutely well, because even if you want non-tourism economic development, if that's the general attitude, why would I do anything here?
Yeah, please paint a strong picture in that report. Thanks.
Yeah.
So
yes.
We have San Juan Pharmacy, which doesn't count tourism.
I took a picture of your pharmacy.
Do we switch over to tourist?
You do. So here's what you need to do.
Clothing for sale, you have gifts for sale, you have drugs for sale. You don't think that...
By the way...
Basically, the tourists we get, they've gotten bed bugs and page, and they're coming in for bed bugs.
Well, let me put that on TripAdvisor. So what you need to do, same with Ace Hardware, is I took pictures of we took 400 photos. And obviously I went over as it was. But what you could do is if you put the pharmacy and you put a blade sign there and you just put gifts, camping supplies, something that caters to visitors, then you'll pull us in. Because somebody did say, well, you should go over to the drugstore. They carry a lot more than that. Same with the jewelry shop. They might have lots of cool gifts that are locally made too, or Indian made or whatever. But somebody said the Ace Hardware has fishing gear and all that. Well, we don't. So what happens to a visitor? We see, oh, pharmacy, or we see, oh, hardware store. And we don't think that, well, gee, in this area, they might have more than that. But by the way, when we promote private businesses, and I say go into the grocery store, I'd love to say, in your itinerary, you just say, first thing you do is go into Clark's or whatever, pick out your lunch, then go over, and is it here in Blanding? Yeah. Then go over, and by the way, you're going to need sunscreen, and the place to go over there is the pharmacy. And if you go over to the pharmacy, they also sell, like hiking shoes or socks or gifts, clothes? Okay, locally made gifts. Okay, but then what you can do is say, if you go over to the pharmacy, you can buy sunscreen there. We want to make sure that you don't get, hot. Do you sell like a hat? But see, here's the thing you could do. When we were working in Emery County and we were working in Orangeville and what's the town next door? Castledale. They have Joe's Valley, which is one of the top bouldering destinations in the western United States. So we went into one of the stores and said, why don't you start selling something to these bouldings and we'll start promoting you. So they started selling chalk, pads, and everything. And now they send everybody into that. I think it was a grocery store that had a convenience area. And so anything you have to offer visitors, we should know about so that we can say, by the way, it's really important that you get sunscreen or 2 or 3 other things that would cater to visitors. And you may say, wow, like when we went to Clark's, did you know they had a whole section in front of the cash register, all the guidebooks and everything you could buy and get? And then that'll get us out of just the tourist places and into yours. And I think that's true with hardware stores, pharmacies, and also with convenience stores. We saw the one in Blanding on the corner, and then we drove up, and then we saw, oh, it's a bowling center. But maybe they have stuff in there. We don't know, but it looked more like a bowling center, so we didn't bother to go in. By the way, we saw a brochure that said 101 things to do in San Juan County. Don't ever do that. Because when we see an item that says, talk to a senior citizen, no offense, we're just going to walk down the street, oh, there's a senior citizen, hey, I need to talk to you. You'd be better off doing, here's the 10 things you got to do, and then going into detail. So whoever produces that little guide, just do the cool thing. You don't need, am I embarrassing somebody? Is that, did the chamber do it? Somebody else, so I'll blame it. Okay, and what you do, you'd be better off doing the top 25. Here's the 5, and then here's 14 others, and that's enough. I think that, and you're not alone. I see this everywhere. We see these 101. Like that one I said that showed 101 things, I said, don't do that. Just do the hidden gems. So that's all I would say. So sometimes we try, go bowling. You do all the stuff that we could already do at home, just to try to get to 101. And then what we do is we discount the whole thing. So just, I think overall, I think it's great. We love, here's the top 5, the next 5, so.
One asset that I didn't hear you talk
Aneth?
about.
The town of Aneth? Huh? What'd you say?
Oh, an asset.
Oh, asset. Yeah.
That I didn't hear you mention, and maybe it's because we don't promote it enough, but it's our night sky, our dark sky.
So.
Did you?
Yes. We even in the visitor center bought one of the photos that's in there for the night skies. Yes, we do know about the night skies. And that, I do think that is something you need to promote. But you need to tell us where can we best experience it Is there a place we could rent binoculars? Is there some place that puts a telescope out behind their hotel? Maybe we'd stay there for it, even though we don't need it. Now, I'll tell you where we stayed. We went to Airbnb because is it Lazy Lizard? Stone Lizard was full. Your place, I don't think was full, but it didn't quite accommodate all of our gear. And then, of course, Desert Rose was totally booked. Those are the ones that we picked. So we went to Airbnb. You should be on Airbnb also. We went to Airbnb. I know you have your thoughts on that. We went to Airbnb and we found a house. But then, once we found the house, we went and Googled it and found it on Canyonlands lodging site, Canyonland lodging site. So you know where the turnoff is to the church ranch. We were out there in a cabin called Night Sky or Dark Sky. And boy, when you walk out there and you see them, I mean, it's fantastic. So your Night Sky is something you do need to promote. Number one, it will get people to spend the night. And number two, you need to tell us where it's best viewed from. And are there any, where's it best viewed from? Where we could just go lay out under the stars or, not just walk outside and look at it. But I do think that is something you need to promote. And you can even say, here's a good reason to spend the night. We have some of the darkest skies in the western United States. Now, I got to tell you, I was just speaking in Nevada last week, and Tonopah says they're the darkest skies in the western United States, and we were in Elko, and they said they had the darkest skies.
Everybody has dark sky.
But
Or sky, eh?
yeah. But if you say, well, here's a place, and boy, in our hotel on the back patio, we have, we've got these lounge chairs where you can just lay on your back. You know what I mean? That kind of experience. Then you're taking it to a location and giving us more details.
The first dark sky designation in America is natural breezes.
Oh, really? See.
And number two, Ovenweek. How come we didn't let you know that?
Yeah.
And you always put those accolades. We love best ofs as visitors. You know what? What you have in San Juan County either better be different or better. And you just named two places that are better. Different, better. That's why I say, bowling and all that, fine, but.
I was going to say, I run small group tours. We're really, we love this county. But we're always looking for other reasons and more reasons to stay longer and come more often. And all these points that you're bringing up are points that would give us more reason to stay longer, to do more nights here, and to visit more attractions. But it needs to be said, and operators rely on the resources given based on.
And you know what? I couldn't find, and we didn't dig like maybe we should have. But before you leave, give me your card. We're coming back. And you know what? Even though I could go drive the Monument Valley thing, I'd always do it with a guide because they're going to tell me stuff I wouldn't otherwise know. But I think your guide services should be front and center. Here's one thing that's really important. You need to promote private business. Here's what I hear. We're a county and we cannot promote private business using tax dollars. That is bull crap. Can you imagine Orlando saying, we have 170 attractions, but we can't mention any of them by name because they're all privately owned? We're in Napa Valley. We have 232 wineries, but we can't mention any of them by name. You know what? The whole benefit of tourism is business. It's tax base. Now you can do public-private partnerships. And I always say promote your best ofs. If you have somebody that has 10% good reviews on TripAdvisor, you're not going to put them front and center. But if you have 80% plus reviews on TripAdvisor and stuff, I mean, as a visitor, we want to go with you more than just go wing it on our own. I had a hard time. We see the signs down there in Monument Valley. I didn't see any signs anywhere else, anywhere on the county. Well, no, wait a second. Right across the street from the Blanding Visitor Center, there's a guide service. Is that yours or is that somebody else's? That's yours. So we did see his. Now you need to do an outside display. It has brochures in it. But you guys need to be front and center. You need to promote we want your business to succeed because that will foster more. And that's why you got to promote. But that's what we do as public. We can't promote private business, but that is the whole benefit of tourism. It's a means to an end. And I love the tourism industry, but it's a means to an end. And if I could pay, so tell me one of your tours that you do.
Well, we're not actually based here in San Juan County, but we come through San Juan County with a Grand Circle tour.
Oh, you do the Grand Circle. That's a huge.
We stay in Bluff now, but we're looking at extending this amount of time in San Juan County. Our groups are becoming more active. We want to spend time on the river. We want to go back on the off-road. We want to do a lot of other things because our groups are early baby boomers a lot, and they're active.
You know, and
they're small groups.
yeah, and one thing that is really, really important. So one thing that's really important is that people have already jumped ship from the baby boomers to the millennials. Not so fast. The youngest baby boomers are in their early 50s. The oldest ones are now 70 as of this year. And guess what? The fastest growing trend in tourism is multi-generational travel. It's us baby boomers. Baby boomers have a guilt complex. We weren't there for kids. By God, we're going to be there for our grandkids, right? Amen. See? Okay. And so for instance, Jane and I would go, okay, Claire, our daughter, her husband, we have 3 little grandkids. What could we do besides Disneyland? And by the way, they'll say, Roger, we or Mom, Dad, we really want to go do this. And of course, you know who's footing the bill. But people have written out the baby boomers, and they count for nearly 80% of all travel spending. Not so fast. And these baby boomers, I'm telling you, myself included, we are not sitting around on a golf course or just lounging around. We want to go out and do stuff. Now, it might not be as extreme as the millennials, right? We're not bouldering and doing extreme, but we don't mind getting dirty out there in a 4-wheel Jeep. We love river rafting. I mean, I'm a diehard river rafter, used to be. I mean, you're right.
Very active. Our number one private groups are families. They're the grandparents with grandkids and parents. Just as you mentioned, they're hiking, they're doing all the activities.
And you want to know something that's cool about this? And I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time, but is with multi-generational, here's how it would work. Okay, Claire, David, our daughter and son-in-law, and their 3 kids. You know what? We're going to have you stay over here. It's really more family-oriented. We're going to go stay at the Desert Rose Inn. Really. Even the grandparents will want to stay at a little more upscale because we're at our peak earning years, and we'll stay in a different place because we still want our downtime. We're empty nesters now. So this is a benefit for the mid-priced hotels. Now, we want to make sure that they're, not shuffled up in something that we're embarrassed and while we're staying over here in luxury. Or they might even like camping, and we're saying, well, you guys go out and camp. Here's a really great campsite. We're going to the hotel. But you're exactly right. I mean, yeah.
So true.
Yeah. So where do you go? What do you do? Just real quick, and I know.
Trips on the San Juan River. We do
Fantastic.
Razor and Jeep tours all throughout Cedar Mesa, Bears Ears.
Okay.
We do canyoneering trips.
Okay.
Climbing.
And you know what you could do, even outside your building, is do a menu board. Just do a menu board. And it just says, here's, 4 hours or less. And here's it is. And then you even put a price per person or whatever. And then do a menu board, just like a restaurant would do it. And people will come up there, even when they're closed, and look down there and then have your little brochure holder there. We saw somebody do that up in Heber Valley in, what's the little Swiss town? Midway. In Midway, there was an outfitter that had a menu board there. And you could go there and say, ooh, and we wanted to go back there to do that. Now I'm going, I want to do that here. And I like that area too, but this here, I'm telling you. When you're here, do you take them to natural bridges? Did you see stuff here that you didn't even know about? No, you know about it. Okay, good. That's good.
But we want to, there's been somewhat of a lack of infrastructure in that, which makes it a little bit challenging. We're grateful for Jared.
Yeah.
Because he does offer a lot of the services we need, but we want to increase the number of nights staying here because we want to look at San Juan County as being a hub for
Should be.
in this region.
Yeah, good.
Can I make a suggestion to you guys, because I think he's produced one of the best area maps that there is out there. Can you put it in production for us to sell? Your map, Grand Circle
My
map.
map.
Yes, the Grand Circle map.
Well, I'm not with the Grand Circle.
Oh.
He's talking about the reasons.
But we used this little map, and we used, by the way, these are the brochures we used. We used this one at first, but then we set it aside because it didn't have enough specifics. However, there are some good lists in the back of lodging and places like that. Then we use this little map. And when our day here, we said, okay, here's the North County, here's the center, here's the south. That's how we divided our few days here. We did see a Bears Ear map, but all it was big colored blobs of who owns what. It wasn't really useful as a visitor at all. We did Monument Valley, the tribal park. You know, it talks a little bit about it. It's got a great map for trails and stuff, so we use that one. Natural Bridges, Hovenweep. We use this one a lot. And of course, you know, this includes Moab. But we use this one a lot just because it had a lot of details. But it doesn't have, like, Looking Glass Rock isn't on here. And there's a lot of things that aren't on here that probably should be. That is something that you could use as a good map. Because this one wasn't enough. And then this one here, it's a bigger region, includes Moab and everything else. And by the way, even in this, it's mountain biking, a recreational center for mountain bike enthusiasts. The area's range of slick rock, dirt roads, forested trails offers multiple possibilities. Whether you're an amateur or a rider looking for a challenge, the varied landscape, it's all generalities. There's no specifics at all. In all your marketing, it's like, give us your, you know what you should do? Here's our top 5 attraction. Here's our top 3 trails. Here's our top 3 fishing spots. Here's our top 3. And we have a whole bunch more beyond that. Once you accomplish those, then do that. Or say, if you want to know the other ones we have, here's a list of our guide services that can take you out there. They know all of them. And they'll find the one that fits your skill level. You got to put your guide, you got to put them out front and center. And you got to hope that they have good reviews. Because you know what happens is when we come in, that first person we meet is how we judge your entire town. Fair or not. It's just like that call to the Monticello Visitor Center. You know? And when somebody says, oh, we have these restaurants, but where's a good place to eat? Well, it would be at my house. Which means the restaurants here aren't any good. You know, and so anyway, I've taken up enough of your time. What you have here is fantastic. You need to think of San Juan County as the destination, not a pass-through. You got Monument Valley, and they need to know there's no need to go 26 miles or whatever it is to Moab. As far as north we went, by the way, is Williams. I don't know what Williams is, a gas, whatever that is. That's as far north as we went. And we did not have enough time in 5 days to do the stuff you have. Not even close. Thank you so much for spending the morning here. Thank you very much. So there'll be an assessment findings sessions report coming. This weekend, I am going to send Pam, you're going to get a thing from Hightail. I'm going to give her these actual slides and PDFs of this presentation, like 4 slides per page. So if you want to print it out or whatever and take it. But I want you to sit down, create a committee, and sit down and say, okay, he just gave us 66 suggestions. Some of them are a little low-hanging fruit for businesses. And say, let's divide and conquer. Let's figure out which ones you want to make recommendations, which ones you want to ignore, which ones you want to talk about. And if you ever have any follow-up questions, my business card there, feel free to email me. I'm not going to charge you. But what you have here, I think sometimes you just take it for granted. And it is world-class. I mean, just doing Monument Valley, Hovenweep, and Natural Bridges, that's 3 full days. And so that's what you need to think about. There's no reason why the average stay in this county shouldn't be 3 or 4 nights instead of an overnight.
So one of the big things I think, especially right now, is that a lot of us see that we don't really want to become another Moab.
You shouldn't.
So where are some scaffolding or something that we can work at from the community government aspect that allow us to?
Yeah. You can do things. You can create local ordinances that don't allow chains and franchises to come in. I mean, that's what happens with success is you have those community. I mean, as a matter of fact, thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. Over over in Springdale, they did not allow anybody in. Subway sued the town of Springdale, beat them to death with money. So they open up Subway and nobody goes into it, and it's probably going to close. But you can create zoning ordinances like that. You can say, height ordinances. We don't want any hotels bigger than 32 rooms. We don't want chain hotels. The last thing you need in Bluff is a Hampton Inn. I mean, really, seriously. And so you can do those things by zoning and by design so that you don't become the next Moab, or wherever. So you can do those things. And by the way, it's kind of a good problem when you have to say, oh boy, we're approaching that point. Springdale's one of those. They're approaching that point where they have to be really careful, about getting too big or whatever. And they are like Nazis about it. I mean, really, they are just like, no, And so you do need to control so it doesn't get out of hand, and particularly for Bluff. The reason I love Bluff, because it is what it is. It's not pretentious. It's very organic. I mean, I could even say that about Mexican Hat. It just is what it is. I mean, it could do that all the way. The only challenge you have along Blanding and Monticello is just that the feeling you get when you drive through on the highway is just not very good. And that's why you need wayfinding to get people off. And then they'll see something different. Thanks again. Thank you very much. Okay.
Wait, what is the arrows? That'd be great.
Is that helpful? Well, thank you.
What? This week, like 2 hours before
And it's easy because tourists are people coming, spending money, but it's also about what tourists you're. So like you shouldn't be an ATV destination. This is not the beer drinking crowd. See what I mean? So it depends on the type of tourist. If you had baby boomer tourists like us that are coming in here, we want to enjoy the history and everything like that, it is no problem. You probably wouldn't be too afraid if Jane and I were walking around, right? But if you had people in their ATVs and they got the 6-pack of beer on, see what I mean? So sometimes it's who you attract more than. So like Rick down there says, I don't know why we're trying to be an ATV destination. Emory County already owns it. That's not our crowd. This is a little more people that want the history and. Yeah. And I think that's very important. You can do growth without getting over the top. We've met a lot of people that moved here from the cities to be away from that. And they like it that their kids can say, just be back by dinner, that they can't say somewhere else. So what you have to do is find, well, how can we leverage? And you know what? Sometimes it's not about getting more visitors at all. It's about getting the same visitors to spend more time here. I'd rather have you have a quarter of the visitors that spend 4 days rather than 4 times more people just passing through. It's not how many people. Yes. And that's why I said, if you market the 4-day stay and we're hiking these canyons and doing that, then you don't need, you need a fraction of that. You'd fill your hotels instantly and you wouldn't be overrun. The last thing you want to be is have the problems they're having in Bryce and Zion and even Arches, where it's just lines of people. No, for you, I think you know what makes you special is being able to go hike the bridges and there'll be 20 people doing it. And I think you do need to protect that. So what it is, it's about attracting people that will stay longer and not the masses. Let them stay. Let the masses go in their tour bus from Monument Valley to Moab. Fine. We want the people that are going to come here in a car, they're going to spend time with us, they're going to eat in our restaurants, and that is a good balance. That's why I would say tourism is not about how many people. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. You bet. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Where are you from?
New York.
Where in New York? Okay. You did, okay. So we've worked, we did all of Chautauqua County out in Western, and we did the Finger Lakes, And then our son just got married in just north